When five college friends arrive at a remote forest cabin for a little vacation, little do they expect the horrors they await them. One by one, the youths fall victim to backwoods zombies, but there is another factor at play. Two scientists are manipulating the ghoulish goings-on, but even as the body count rises, there is still more at work than meets the eye. Welcome to another feature presentation of Midnight Double Feature, and on this episode, we'll be covering 2012's The Cabin in the Woods, directed by Drew Goddard.
Actually brooding for this. That's so much heart. Think of all that pain.
Tequila is my lady.
Tequila is my lady. My lady. Come on in, guys. Come on in.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Midnight Double Feature, where we're covering The Cabin in the Woods, episode 260 of Midnight Double Feature. How about that, Colin?
Yeah, that's crazy. I wish it was 666.
Wow, and, you know, as always with me, here's my man, Colin. How you doing?
I'm doing well. The Richard Jenkins to your bad guy from Happy Madison, or what is it? Billy Madison. Well, Happy Madison is hold on. There we go. Happy Madison is his film company, whatever.
Yeah. If I get to be Bradley Whitford, then you know, all problems in my life are solved because I fucking love Bradley.
You
Whitford.
are definitely him. I am definitely Richard Jenkins, and you are definitely what's his name? Is it Bradley Whitford?
Bradley Whitford, yeah.
Definitely.
He's in we'll talk about him, but he's in so many things, dude, and he's always top notch in him, you know, whether it's you know, Handmaid's Tale or Steven Spielberg's The Post. Like he's in so many things, and he's kind of become that guy kind of thing, you know, like whenever he pops up kind of, but like, yeah, he'll always be Eric from Billy Madison.
Oh, dude, so. If you're able to pull this off and Get Out, like, come on. Yeah, this guy's range is just so good.
Get Out, yeah. 100%, absolutely. But guys, thank you so much for joining us here at Midnight Double Feature. Like I said, we're going to be covering The Cabin in the Woods today, directed by Drew Goddard. This is a movie that, quite frankly, I'm surprised we haven't even touched yet. And, you know, when I was scrolling through my, you know, streaming, whatever, I was like, I'm sure we've covered this. I'm sure, you know, we've talked about this because, you know, like horror being such a big element of our podcast, you know, for the last 4 years, sorry. I'm just absolutely amazed that we haven't touched this movie. So I think this is going to be a really interesting conversation. If you do want to follow us on our socials, check your show notes on whatever app you're listening to. You know, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You know, if you want to watch, if you want to watch us, we're on YouTube. We've got a couple of videos on there as well, including some of our interviews with our guests, which were pretty awesome. Those are going up now as well. And if you want to support the show even further and help keep the lights on here, join our OnlyFans. No, I'm just kidding. No, head to our Patreon. It's patreon.com/Midnight Double Feature. You get 2 extra bonus episodes a month. And, you know, that's us covering, you know, the fun stuff, right? I mean, we're about to jump off here after this episode and record First Blood Part 2, which should be a fun time. That's your pick. So that'll be a good time. Can't wait to talk about that. We've got a whole bunch of episodes on there. The backlog there is crazy now. So, you know, you'll definitely be getting bang for your buck for just $5 a month. So if you are considering, if you do like us, I do recommend considering membership. So thank you so much. Really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And thank you so much to the members who support us currently. I mean, you guys are absolute beasts. All right. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about The Cabin in the Woods. I guess I'll just talk about why I chose this movie. This movie fucking rules. This movie absolutely, like to you know, quote the kids, this movie slaps, Colin. This yeah, I can't get enough of this movie. I guess I'll you know what? Fuck it. I'll start off.
Sure, go for it.
The first time I saw this movie, I was disappointed.
Me too.
I thought this was going to be because, you know, it's all about expectations, right? Like, this was sold as a horror movie. It's called The Cabin in the Woods. The trailers didn't make any reference to, you know, the governmental goings on, or anything like that. That
load wasn't blown in the media, you know, the advertising,
which is great for the movie. But I guess, you know, you can kind of look at it as I don't know, like how to market your movie to audiences who might be going to see this in the cinema. You know what I mean? Like, is that something that you should be, as a studio, cautious of? Like, kind of like selling something in your marketing, and then the product being something else, and then potentially getting, like feedback or negative feedback from those who go see it. I don't know. But I wasn't expecting this to be a deconstruction of the horror genre or a satire as much as it is. I thought this was going to be a straight up horror movie. So, I went to my friends one night. We rented it. We, fucking popped some popcorn. We turned the lights off, and we thought this was going to be a straight up horror movie, and it wasn't. And I remember leaving his place, and I was like, I'm a little confused about how I feel, because I definitely was entertained. I remember coming off really entertained, but I was like, oh man, I was in the zone. I was in the mood for a horror movie.
Yeah.
And I don't think that this is a horror movie. I think this is more of a mystery movie. I think it's more of a comedy than it is a horror. But like I said, it's a deconstruction of the genre. It's a satire.
Mm-hmm.
And if it has something in common with another movie, the movie I'd choose would be Scream, if anything. I think this movie does what Scream attempted to do and did really well back in the 90s. Wes Craven obviously understood the genre. He had a huge hand in making that genre. And Scream, takes the tropes of horror movies and, puts them on their head and, delivers things that we don't expect.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this movie does that too. This movie really kind of like points out, horror is silly a lot of the times. Like it's like, why are people saying that the wind blew that open?
Right, right.
Like,
It's kind of like acknowledging all this ridiculous shit that you have to like swallow, with the genre.
Right. So it's really critical of the genre, and it really puts it under a magnifying glass or microscope. Sorry, I don't know why I went for fucking Sherlock Holmes's magnifying glass.
Close enough.
But I think, it's made by people who really understand the genre. And I think it's super clever. It's really well made, really well acted, fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
It's it's side-splittingly hilarious, dude. Like, I'm just like, damn.
Mm-hmm.
That the moment when Bradley Whitford is looking at the monitor and watching her die, and he starts to feel sorry for her. And he glances left, and then he looks back, and then he's like, oh shit. Tequila is mid-sentence, dude. He's like, tequila is my lady.
Yeah, right.
I'm just like,
it's these great moments. You think they're about to redeem themselves as like human beings. And it's just like, no. We're going to take you that close to the sun and come right back,
It's so good. Yes, Richard Jenkins and Bradley Whitford, absolutely. They are my MVPs. Bradley Whitford for me the most. But talk to me about your first experience watching this movie.
I went and saw this in theaters. I guess kind of. When you like go on one of those dates and you don't really know if it's a date, but you definitely are like attracted to each other.
I want details, baby.
Man, she's still a very, very, very nice person. Nothing, ever really went anywhere. We're still friends. But I remember seeing
Lindsay.
this. No, not at all. This was back in like, when did this come out? 2012, I guess. No, 2012. I would have been
2012.
So I would have been 21. But I remember watching it, and she was loving it. She was fucking dying laughing and stuff. And I just couldn't get into it because I was like, man, all these characters are just so kind of like typical, and and it's just there. But that's like by design, that like literally they're being. And even when it was revealed to me that like this elder god wants like tropes, basically, this elder god wants like the the jock, the
whore, the athlete,
the whore, yeah, exactly. It wants all of that stuff, and even then, I was still kind of like, just not really interested in this movie. And I liked, the comedy for the most part, but some of it did feel like, I don't know, especially like the stoner aspects of it were like really like, man, this is just low hanging, like lowbrow fruit. But that's kind of like the point is there's a reason why this ritual happens every year, and because I was trying to think, it's like, man, this movie is actually really trying to say something. Now that I've watched it again, this is the first time I've probably watched it in 10 years, And I was like, man, what is this really trying to say? Because I can't really quite understand exactly what's going on. And really, it's kind of like the viewers of these movies, the people that ingest them every year, are like the Elden gods. They're the ones who ingest the stuff, and they demand what the criterion is of this selection process, and how they're supposed to be killed and stuff. And it gets a little bit more.
Let me pause you right there. To anyone who's wondering, whether you're right or not, I implore you to go back and listen to some of the upcoming attractions episodes that we've done, specifically when I was on with Matt. And, we talked about, I think it was back when we reviewed Halloween 2018 when that came out. From what I remember, Matt and I had a conversation on the air, and we were just like, Matt he didn't love the kills, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I like the kills in that movie just fine, but like it's interesting because that's such an example of what you're talking about, right? Like the kills aren't gory enough, the kills aren't creative enough, they're not, whatever. So like it's interesting, like what you're saying, that yes, we are the gods because we are the ones, like I guess, demanding these things from these filmmakers. And it's interesting because it's, you can kind of like go off on a tangent and talk about fandom culture, like we talk about Star Wars, and Star Wars being a huge victim of fandom culture, right? Like
right.
Just filmmakers bending to what they think fans want. But yeah, sorry to interrupt.
Oh no. They're pulling a lowest common denominator by design. Trying to put these things out, and ultimately, I think there's still plenty of space for stuff like that. I think there's still, if you would just want to watch 5 horny teenagers get ripped to shreds, fucking knock yourself out, But I do think it's like, man, you do need a movie to come around every once in a while and kind of like slap you in the face like this one does. I see your Scream and I match it like Adele and Tucker versus Evil plus Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, I was about to say that too.
Yeah, like it's definitely.
I love that movie. I love that movie.
I know who got me on it. It's Jesse from the Verbal Chaos podcast, and formerly Countdown to Geek Town. I remember him telling me, he's like, dude, you have to watch this. And I finally did. And I really enjoyed it. It's very good. It'd be a great double feature with this. But my thoughts then, didn't love it. Thought it was a little meh. Now I totally get it. I'm just a little bit older, and I've seen a lot more of these type of movies, and I could understand, especially Drew Goddard and Whedon, who,
we'll talk about Whedon for a sec.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, God, there's so much shit you can go fucking read. Like, I don't know what the guy did. I haven't read that much on it, honestly. Like, I don't have a good background on it to speak on. But I know them as filmmakers and as geeks, and their frustration with the slasher genre is palpable. That it's man, yeah, this is kind of stupid that we always run these same fucking things, and it ends up just being this, the girl gets away at the end, and that's just this whole movie is just a total subversion on all of those fronts. But I loved the setup of the movie, the runtime of the movie, the humor of the movie, the editing, the pacing, all of it was so extremely well done.
It feels really tight. There's no wasted moment.
Dude, I mean, this movie is like $1.33 with credits. That's crazy. That's like a short film, that's like an hour-long short film. But now watching it, I absolutely love it. I love seeing Sigourney Weaver pop up, because around this time is when she did Paul, and she's Jason Bateman's boss, and Paul, kind of a similar thing. Apparently, Sigourney Weaver was ecstatic that there was werewolves on set, actual lycanthropes. And they originally wanted Jamie Lee Curtis. When they wrote this, they knew, hey, we're going to get a legendary icon to do this.
Yes.
And they're we're going to try to get Jamie Lee Curtis. And apparently they went to Sigourney Weaver just in kind of a plan B. And Sigourney Weaver's there's werewolves? She's oh, absolutely. I'll do it in a heartbeat. And she, apparently within her first 20 minutes of showing up on set, she was can I go see the werewolves and shit? And the werewolf was a dude in an actual suit for the most part.
So wholesome.
So he would take his helmet off and go and eat lunch. And she was why is nobody well, there's nobody eating lunch with a werewolf. This is ridiculous. Like, apparently she just really was enthralled by that, and me as well. I love werewolf movies and story. I think they're really underrated. But all in all, I think this movie is excellent. I think it's saying a lot, and it says it very quickly. But at the same time, it's not trying to be preachy. It's not trying to say that, hey, if you like these movies, you're trash. I think it's saying, hey, this is so redundant at this point by 2009. I mean, this shit was redundant way before that. But in 2009, when this movie was made, and that's another thing, this movie took fucking 3 years to get out because MGM filed for bankruptcy and shit. But, even by 2009, when this is made, you have that just kind of like again with this fucking kind of movie. And I'm glad to see that actually didn't like affect this movie or hurt it. Because I'm a big fan of the series that this pulls a lot from, which is Evil Dead. I love the Evil Dead movies. I'm a huge fan.
Same.
I'm really excited for the game that's about to come out in like a month. It's like a 4-player co-op cabin in the woods. Like, you can play as Ash, obviously. You can play as like one of the knights from Army of Darkness. You can play as like a 4-player co-op fighting off deadites and shit. I just thought that was really fucking cool. And something I read, the guy that plays like the stoner, I'm trying to remember.
Frank Kranz. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go on.
That guy was apparently jacked when he showed up to set.
Yeah.
He was like fucking ripped, and they were like, yeah, we gotta put some baggy clothes on this dude. But it kind of cracks me up because they said like, yeah, that's why in the lake scene everybody has their shirts off and everybody's in bikinis, but he's got his shirt on. And I was like, do you understand how funny it would be if he took his shirt off and he was just like fucking Stallone in First Blood Part 2? Like, if he was just ripped and veiny, it's like, oh my God. Like, even the guys are thinking about fucking him.
I mean, it would fit what they're
totally
going for.
Would. That's what I'm saying. Dude, I would
characters.
fucking die if he just like, he's like, yeah, I've been doing nothing but drinking water and eating rice cakes,
I've just been absolutely shredding and getting dehydrated.
Right. He's taking diuretics the whole time, just pissing his body weight out.
Frank Kranz actually was in the conversation for Oscar nominations last year. Well, this year, the Oscars that just passed. He made directed a movie for the first time called Mass, MASS, and it's apparently really amazing. It's a small movie. I'm not going to like spoil what it's about because it's pretty easy to spoil. But the cast is pretty fucking good, and it got quite a bit of Oscar attention. Unfortunately, it wasn't nominated, but I remember people being like, "Oh, that was a snub." So it stars Ann Dowd, who's awesome. Jason Isaacs from Harry Potter, whatever. He plays Lucius Malfoy. Reed Birdy, Martha Plimpton. I don't know those two, but I mean, apparently it's really good. I really want to go check that out. So, this. So I guess the elephant in the room is Joss Whedon. That he was kind of one of the reasons that I was like, maybe we shouldn't cover this, but he's not directing it or anything. Mm-hmm. Although his fingerprints feel all over this movie.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's interesting because like this is, like when you watch this movie, you're like, that's a Joss Whedon thing. That must be a Joss Whedon thing. That must be a Joss Whedon thing. And there are hundreds of articles out there that talks about Joss Whedon's conduct and alleged conduct. I think there's no more damning, article out there than the New York Times article that came out not too long ago, about a month ago. It was this very long piece where this reporter sat down with him and, he said a lot of like weird shit. And it's just pretty much the takeaway from it is that he grew up in Hollywood royalty. His father worked in the business and he was very successful. And then like Joss Whedon didn't really need to work his way up. Like he was kind of afforded the status, or, like he became a writer. I can't remember what show it was, but it was incredibly successful pretty much like right out of the gate. Like, like he didn't need to work on a small independent movie or anything like that, or a small independent TV show. He was just like given the keys to the kingdom pretty much immediately. And And, like, you can kind of tell if you do read that New York Times article. Like, again, it is super lengthy. I didn't read all of it, but it's very telling that this is someone who didn't appreciate the status he was given so early on. And, he kind of, like, ran his sets like, I guess, Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
Like, he was it was a bit of a dictator according to multiple sources. And he was a dick to women, which absolutely sucks because you do have your filmmakers and you have your actors, and especially in this last week, you have your actors that you really want to love, and they come out and like in real life, and they're apparently not as good of a person as you think they are.
Right.
Yeah, and it sucks, but like, I mean, it's tough because you do need to separate the work from the artist. And I think it's a point of fact that Joss Whedon has made good shit.
Yeah, and it's also one of those things of like, I'd love to talk about Usual Suspects, but obviously Bryan Singer, Kevin Spacey, there's just a lot of stains like all over that. But it's like at the same time to not talk about it is to disparage a great performance of Gabriel Byrne, Benicio del Toro, Stephen Baldwin,
not to mention the hundreds of other people who worked on that
right
movie.
Lighting, fucking everybody from from A to Z. Chaz Palminteri, who plays the detective in that, Agent Kuyan. I just it sucks because then you see a movie like this and you don't want to Richard Jenkins and Chris Hemsworth and Sigourney Weaver, and it sucks because it's just one of those things that you do kind of have to be like, listen, I acknowledge that there's like a bit of a sour patch with this movie, but at the same time, it's not like it's written and directed and starring and produced by it's just written and produced.
Right, which is a big deal, but still. Yeah.
Right. And it also sucks because, Joss Whedon gave such a great female character in, Buffy from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and obviously, other shit like, Serenity and Firefly and stuff. But it's definitely one of those things that like, yeah, I acknowledge that and it sucks, but it's like, man, it's just one of those things, like you said, you have to separate the art from the artist and realize that, it's not like I'm going on his Patreon and buying his feet pics, like it's like I'm just support. I paid $3 to rent a movie that he was a part of, and it sucks, and it does take some a small amount of like enjoyment out of it, but at the same time, it's also like it's kind of a double-edged sword because now everybody knows that. At least that's something that will fail to continue, hopefully. That's always kind of nice,
Yeah, absolutely. I just think it was important for us to kind of get that out of the way. But look, without any further ado, what do we say? Get into this bitch.
Let's do it.
All right, man. Well, look, this opening scene. Okay, so this opening scene.
I'm sorry. I like how we're like, this movie's not all about justice. The first line is like, I don't know, maybe it's hormones, fucking stupid fucking woman. And it's like, like Jesus Christ. We just fucking went over this, dude. And it's like the first line is like a Bill Burr monologue.
Bitching about his wife. Yeah.
Like, good God, man. But it does. It feels like some shit, like that older guy who's at work who's like, God damn it, when I get home, blah, blah, blah. Like everybody knows somebody like that,
Well, at this point, I remember specifically thinking the first time I watched this movie, I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, and that was the intention from Drew Goddard. Like this is a quote from Drew Goddard. He said, well, it's weird because at the script stage, I always thought the movie would start without a title sequence and would just open on the copy machine. The one thing we knew we had script-wise was the hard cut to the cabin in the woods in the middle of the guys talking about babe-proofing the house. I was delighted by the idea that the audience might think they walked into the wrong movie. So this was absolutely intentional, and the idea of that dude, that this guy, this director, Drew Goddard, is intentionally trolling the audience, that's so good. I love that. Because this is such a jarring what the fuck.
That, and I think Drew Goddard, I'm gonna frame. Might be Los Alamos, somewhere in Texas or New Mexico, where they tested nuclear weapons and built nuclear weapons and shit. It's like the town from the 2004 Hulk, with Eric Bana. It's just what the whole town exists for. Deep pull, by the way, on that one. But he was like, it was so weird. He was like, it was so weird to see all these people, living under the shadow of the mushroom cloud and like making, probably had some dark jokes and and everybody's like, oh, I got to get that thing working or we're all going to die, or like, it's like working at Chernobyl or something, that's so living in the shadow of that and just going by day-to-day life like it's no big deal. It's like, that's crazy.
It's so good. Yeah. Well, okay. Stockholm went south. Right, Japan has a perfect record. I mean, like, we're getting these little tidbits of information.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, these things on a first viewing make absolutely no sense to us. We're like, what the fuck is going on?
Right.
I just love, like, how stressed. This is so. Citizen is played by Richard Jenkins, and Hadley is played by. Why am I forget his name? I fucking love him. I just said his name.
You are a fucking schmuck. Here, let me help you out.
It's early, dude.
Bradley Whitford.
Yes, I love Bradley Whitford. I'm sorry, Brad. If you're listening to this, Brad, I'm sorry.
That's like Groundhog Day when he's banging that chick. He's like, "Oh, Nina." She's like, "It's Tina." He's like, "Whatever."
Dude, I love like them just driving along. He's fixing his coffee cup, and he's like, "You're not even listening to me, are you?"
Oh,
Bang!
dude, it's fucking great. And like the whole scene where, but they talked about shit going tits up in like '98. He's like, "Oh, whose fault was that again?" "Oh, yeah, Kim's. Where do you work?" "Oh, it's all coming back to me now." And he just drives off in the middle of her. It's almost like, yes, this feels like yes, this feels like Joss Whedon, but it also feels like Mike Judge from Beavis and Butthead and King of the Hill. It like if that were Mike Judge, I could totally fucking see it. Just maybe not as sarcastic.
Yes. We're introduced to our cast of characters, right? Dana, the redhead. She's dancing in her underwear through the window again.
22-year-old me and 32-year-old me, 21 and 32-year-old me. I rolled so hard when this started, and I was like, "No, wait, that's the point. Don't be so
it's
jaded."
Intentional. Everything is intentional in this scene in particular, right? Because we also get Jules, who dyed her hair blonde, was not always a blondie. She is. All of these people are incredibly clever. Because Chris Hemsworth walks in, right? You think he's going to be a dumb jock. He throws a fucking football through the window, right? You're just like, okay, this guy's going to be a fucking dumb jock, whatever. And then he immediately recommends a textbook to Dana. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, he says, read this. This is one of the textbooks that the professor has memorized yet. You'll be able to get the jump on him. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, these are not the caricatures that we are supposed to think they are. And, immediately that this is like, this is not the movie that you're supposed to, like, that you've been sold. Because also, like, when he throws the football out the window, Holden, played by Jesse Williams from Grey's Anatomy, catches the ball perfectly, and he's supposed to be the nerd. He's supposed to be the scholar. Right. And it's like, oh, shit.
Not with those shoulders, he fucking, not with those eyes and those shoulders, he fucking ain't. That guy's like the cover of a romance novel.
Steph's watching this next to me, and like I'm just like
when even the nerd, woman. Even the stoner is like ripped, and you're like, God damn it,
God damn it, dude. And then like later, Jules is doing like her dance, and like her ass is out, and she's like, "Oh, avert your eyes, bitch."
Yeah, I feel like this is by design, but Jules, I don't know, man. She just didn't. I mean, she's obviously a very attractive woman, but didn't personally do anything. Like I was a lot more. I've always been more of a sucker for like the Dana. What's her name? Kristen Connolly. Like the. I feel awful saying this, but this is how like the call sheet would read it as cute, but like accessible, cute, but like just not your typical girl next door, like a little bit different from all the other girls, like kind of thing. But I think that she plays that like perfectly, someone who's not, I'm not into partying and getting fucked up. I want something more, blah, blah, blah. This is somebody who takes up like rock climbing in their 30s. I feel like just like one of those like yeah, man, let's go like hiking trails. I'm like, yeah, you shut the fuck up. I'm not doing that. No, I'm good.
So what you're saying is that Jules didn't give you a husband's bulge. That's what you're saying.
No husband doll. In fact, a virgin's retreat. Like my penis went up in my body. I was like, nah, I'm good.
Inverted penis. All right. So Marty shows up, and he's absolutely barbecued this entire movie because he's got his windows down and just a trail of weed smoke.
Dude, I will tell you when I fucking died is when he. I just started watching. It's when he locks his door and his windows roll down. His windows rolled down, and he's like tugging on the handle to make sure it's locked. And I fucking exploded, dude. I forgot. This guy is probably, next to obviously Richard Jenkins and Bradley Whitford.
Yep.
Yeah, those guys are, dude. Just seeing him tug that handle door and the windows down. And nobody in the scene addresses it. It's just kind of one of those things where, hey, if you get it, you get it. You don't kind of thing. That feels like an Edgar Wright joke. Like that feels like Edgar Wright to me, where it's like, we're not going to draw attention to it. If it's there, you catch it, kind of thing.
Or a Zucker Abrams joke. So like, Airplane or Really Scary Movie kind of thing.
Apparently this thing was functioning. This Bong coffee cup.
Yes.
It was like $5,000.
It cost thousands of dollars to make.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, man. I'm going to make you that out of a fucking apple and a roll of toilet paper at like 25 minutes.
We get our first indication that something's awry. You got this guy who's on the roof who's like, the nest is empty. The nest is empty. Okay. And then Marty on the way pretty much predicts the rest of the movie. Right?
Yeah.
Society has to crumble, he says.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I like that. And one of the things I really like about Marty is not that he not only dies, is that they peg him as the fool. And really it shows you how like this society or whatever they are is kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel, because our lead, Jesus Christ, Dana, she's not a virgin.
Oh, sorry, Dana.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dana's
we work
not a
with
virgin.
what we have, says Sigourney Weaver.
And it's like, Marty's not a fool. Like, Marty's not dumb by any means. I think that, he's like he says, he stays in a womb of THC, but like, he's not an idiot. And I think that's why, neither is Jules and neither is Thor or Holden, but they eventually get those drugs pumped into them, and that's what kind of makes them, act a little bit differently. So they kind of succumb to that. But Dana and Marty never really do, and they're the ones who actually survive through the whole ordeal. And I think that's actually really cool, is they don't ever fall to their archetypes. And Marty is not the fool and she's not the virgin, and they're the ones who actually survive, the whole thing. I think it's kind of interesting.
It's a fantastic, like you said, just like putting the archetypes on their head, like, turning them on their head, and you're like, this is not, this is what you've expected, and this is what we're giving you. Like, this is not what you've been expecting. And like that again makes us, as I guess the ancient ones, the audience, reevaluate ourselves and be like, hey, this is maybe we shouldn't have been expecting this. Maybe this is a little bit more progressive. Chris Hemsworth, by the way, this was the year of Thor. I guess it was shot the year of it was shot way earlier than Thor, right? So 2009 it was shot. It released in 2012, which was the Avengers year. Our Lord and Savior, yeah. So
apparently that was a big deal. That so they pushed the movie back because they wanted it ready for 3D, and then MGM declares bankruptcy. Lionsgate swoops in, gets the rights. They put it out, and then all of a sudden, one of your main stars is like the biggest guy in Hollywood. One of the biggest guys in Hollywood now, and that really helps out putting his name on the title poster. So it really got kind of ended up being a blessing in disguise. For everybody involved.
Perfect. Like in every horror movie, there's a gas station stop, right? I mean, we get this in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Oh, by the way, something I forgot to talk about in my opening thoughts. So this movie finished, and then the streaming service that I was using, Stan, it's an Australian one, recommended me Cabin Fever, Eli Roth's 2002 Cabin Fever. So I just let it play, and it is exactly the movie that this movie is kind of making fun of.
Yeah,
There are like Have you
That's what
seen
I
this
thought.
movie?
No. I have not seen what is that called? Which one is that?
Cabin Fever.
So
Yeah.
when you messaged me, you were like, "Hey, have you seen this?" I thought you were talking about like Wrong Turn or Cabin Fever, and I was like,
Right.
"Oh my
Yes.
god, here comes another House of Wax." Here comes another Darkness Falls.
No, this is the main feed. We don't talk about bullshit.
Yeah,
on
that's
the main
true.
Feed.
And when I realized, like, oh, he said Cabin in the Woods. Yes, I have seen that, and I got a lot more excited because I was like, oh fuck, and like I have no interest in watching movies like that because I just I'm sure they're fun. I'm sure I'd be entertained, but I wouldn't pay money. I wouldn't pay money to watch them.
No, absolutely not. I mean, that's exactly the situation that I would watch that movie in. Is when a better movie ends and then the streamer recommends recommends it and it just starts automatically. That's the only situation I'd watch it. So I was just sitting there like kind of like thinking about Cabin in the Woods, and this movie's playing Cabin Fever, and literally there's it starts off with like these teenagers headed to this cabin in the woods, and they're all stoners and they're all fucking they're having sex with each other and shit. I'm just like, this is literally what the Cabin in the Woods is making fun of.
Mm-hmm.
And Eli Roth's in it, and he's got this terrible goatee. It's so bad.
Just like Michael Scott in The Office when Ryan comes back.
Oh. And then Michael realizes that Ryan shaved, and he looks over at Ryan, and he's like, oh, "Shaved?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll just go." And then fucking Dwight's in the background, like with just like little,
like
just
a
little
mustache,
looking like a Chinese man. All right, the Harbinger. Right, let's talk about this guy. This guy is creepy on the surface. He straight up calls Jules the whore, which I guess is
Jesus.
Like on first watch is pretty shocking and it's pretty direct, but it's also like, I guess this is what he knows her as.
Right.
The whore.
Yeah, and I wonder. It's like they're like, oh, he has to be here, and I feel like it's because then you go like, what are these rules? And you're like, oh no, we are the elder gods. Like we are the ones who dictate these rules as viewers. I mean, me personally, I've never dictated rules like this in a movie. I just kind of let movies come at me. But it's like I didn't learn there were rules about these movies until somebody told me there were rules. I never really knew that there was like, I am just not. But self-admittedly not a slasher guy. I'm more cosmic horror. I like suspenseful stuff. Not a huge fan of slashers because they are pretty much like what this movie's making fun of. You pretty much know what's going to happen. So this guy, Mordecai, especially when they're making fun of him later on and they humanize him so well, it's just like, oh my God, this is fucking great. But it's like, why is this guy even here? It's like, because film lore, 80s slasher lore dictates it, it has to be there.
Yes.
It's the guy showing up at Camp Crystal Lake, you're all gonna die, get out of here, like blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Oh no, that's Poltergeist 2, that guy. Have you seen that dude? He's like, you're all gonna die. I haven't seen the second one. Oh, it is. That guy is probably the scariest part. He's terrifying.
Yeah. I mean, there's always like one of these, right? There's always the gas station stop before you get to your... It happens in Friday 13th, the remake, the 2009 remake. I mean, think about how recent 2009 is as compared to the old slashers that we're talking about, and that trope's in that movie. Like, you know what I mean? It's fucked. It happens in House of Wax too, doesn't it? I mean, like, they run into one of the rednecks, and it's just like, why are we doing this? Like, but yeah, so I love like when Marty just goes, which war was that? Was some of them wearing blue and some wearing red? Brother perhaps fighting against brother in that war?
Oh, I love it because it's like dudes fighting in a war from like Red Dead Redemption 2. Well, and as they're leaving, Marty has one of the best lines where he's like, well, good luck with your business, sir. Eventually the railroad's going to come through here and really fix this place up, and you'll have a street actually paved for street, fucker. It's so good. Like, what? Oh, he's so great, man.
I also love Marty just straight up going, you insulted my friend. Like, absolutely. Again, another breaking of the tradition, right? I mean, like, this guy should not coward. Be... Yeah, he's not the coward or the fool that is made out to be. Which is super interesting.
I feel like if this were like not a kind of a spoof of the slasher genre, if this were like a real like slasher, that would be like Jonah Hill in 2009, and he would be, like a bitch, Chris Hemsworth would be Chris Hemsworth, kind of thing. So actually, I kind of like that he was like, hey, you insulted my friend, like, fuck you, dude. And I was like, oh, cool, man, this guy's got balls. Like, he's not an idiot. Like, he's actually, him and Dana are probably the best characters, because they're actually smart, intelligent, like they're not cowards, it's like, yeah, these people deserve to live. You pick the wrong group to fuck with.
Absolutely. So they head to the cabin in the woods, the Buckner place, as Mordecai put it. This is supposed to be Kurt's cousin's place, right? That's what he says. Kurt, by the way, sociology major, right? Which is wild. But
real fun at parties.
Yeah. We see this eagle fly into this barrier. At this point in the movie, first time I saw it, I was like, what the fuck are we watching? Is this like some kind of weird science fiction thing? I was like, this is strange. Some
weird under the dome Stephen King type shit.
Yeah. Good reference. Of course, Stephen King. You had to work that in there, didn't you?
Of course.
This painting is...
Oh, Jesus. What? I can handle the goat dismemberment. I can handle the screaming head being cut off, but it's the dude in the background
who's the
watching.
guy on the hill?
Oh my God. That's the moment that I just went, nah, man, I'm taking a brush to this thing before I leave. Like, there's no way. There's something so much more terrifying about that than anything else. You could remove the goat murder and just show that guy in the background, and I'd be like, I am turning this thing around and hanging on the wall. There's no way.
Who is that Slenderman looking motherfucker over there on the hill, dude. just watching all this shit go down? I don't know. Tell you what though, if this painting was commissioned for the movie, it's a pretty good painting.
Oh hell yeah,
absolutely good painting. So Jesse, I keep going to call him Jesse. He's the actor's name. Holden takes down the painting, and it's a two-way mirror, one-way mirror. I don't know how those things work. Two-way,
one-way mirror, I believe.
What? I've heard them be called two ways, but
maybe they are. I will tell you one thing really quick, and I don't want to jump too far ahead because like they figure out what's going on, they swap rooms, blah blah blah. The moment she starts watching Holden undress, and then she goes nope, and she puts the picture up. If you look very closely, when she's putting the picture back up as he's undressing, there is like a huge hole in the wall, like a glory hole. I swear to God, dude, I'm looking at this. Yes, I swear to God. You know what? We're going to stop the podcast for a second to look this up because I thought it's like 18 minutes and 20 seconds. And I swear to God, to the right when she puts that up, there is like a coaster size hole in the wall for like a horse cock. Like it's fucking huge.
I think it's a knot in the wood.
I thought so too, but no, this is a hole. This is a giant fucking hole in the wall. And I was like, is that some kind of weird, like little, because there are knots in the wall. Absolutely. This thing is fucking huge. It's like that big around. I was like, that's a big ass knot, man. That's
turn my brightness up. Just trying to 18 and 20 seconds. I can't see it, man. I think it's a knot.
Trust me, I have been to enough of them. It's a glory hole. Yeah. All right, it's a glory hole.
I've carved enough. Enough of them.
It just, I'm just saying, if you have a mirror that looks out one way and there's a glory hole, like if there's a glory hole not far away from it, I totally buy it. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't there be?
You don't know what the Buckners were doing.
Yeah, they could have been putting fishes out to try it, putting worms out to try to catch a fish. You never know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Couple things we should note before we do go past. So interesting that Jesse Holden doesn't follow through with it. Something that would happen in a horror movie. Like you'd get one of those fucking teenagers, like, oh yeah, titties, yay, whatever. But he stops himself, which is great. Again, another subversion of the character. But also, Dana immediately rejects his advances. Right, like she says, maybe you should go for Jules. She's pretty mad. Whatever.
Oof, that was rough. I was like,
it was cold.
Yikes!
It was cold. We see that they are being watched via cameras. This this is we've got the blood back on Lauda, and his levels. Her levels are good. But we're recommending a 50 mg bump of rohyptase to increase libido.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point,
trying to fuck.
Yeah. At this point, we're just like, how much power do these guys have? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are they capable of? Like, you know, they're able to increase these people's libidos.
Oh, they say the hair dye, you know, is made up for, you know, basically dumbing her down. That Marty's weed has been spiked. I was like, Jesus Christ, man! Like, how did you even conjure all of this together? It's borderline impressive. It's like, how much power do these people have? You know, it's pretty crazy.
Is this the government? It's going to be the government, right?
I feel, oh, dude, something of this caliber, like when you have a catalog, when you have a library of like Skyrim mythical creatures, I feel like there's no way that doesn't become like a federal matter. You know, like the state of Oklahoma ain't got this shit. You know, like they don't have the fund for this. I feel like this is not even like a federal thing. This has got to be like a...
It's international because they're all coordinating, right? That's
what I'm saying. This is like QAnon or like the Illuminati or something, you know? Like this is like something like...
I feel like it's more official than that. Like, you know, they've got this giant facility.
For sure. I'm just saying, like, in terms of, like, scale, like, this is like Illuminati big, you know? This is like the world's most powerful people must know about this. There's no way. If there's giant gods living, like, right underneath the surface and we have, like, an Area 51 of Grimm's fairy tales going on, like, hell yeah. Like, Interpol is, like, 2 fucking steps away from busting these guys.
Tell you what, tiny little detail that I really enjoyed, and it's such a small detail that I, you know, considered, is it worth bringing up on the podcast? You really notice, especially like later when they're reaching for the red phone, it's Hadley reaching for the red phone. His shirt, like the white shirt, you know, being obviously such an indicator of like, you know, humdrum employees, whatever. But it's like ironed, very like.
Very starchy.
Like, yeah. It's very creased and stuff. Like, you know, it's not like a film, like a costumer like ironed it and then like got them to put it on or anything. It's very, you know, janky, and it's like that absolutely fits with these guys, these characters.
For sure.
Tiny detail.
Absolutely.
The Harbinger call. Let's talk about this.
Oh my God. This was another part where I just died because I get like the fact that they know who he is and like, oh God, this fucking guy.
Mordecai,
you know, like,
baby.
Dude, it's like that guy when you worked at your local grocery store when you're 16, he would show up at like 9:58 to get cat food on a Wednesday. You're like, fuck! Like, like we close at 10. God damn it, dude. Like it's like that guy, you know, I love that. And the fact that even, I don't know, it's probably an intern or something, doesn't want to talk to the guy. He's like, this guy is freaking me out, man. I think all this is great. And again, not only do they humanize him, but it's such a good story beat, you know? I feel like this is like the Scream guy, like rapping, like, I'm a grown master, microphone master, and he's like stabbing people the whole time and shit. I think that's so fucking funny. And it takes like some power away from that character that's much needed in a comedy film, you know? It's just like, oh, this is so great. Or this is so great. This fucking kills.
This is such an awesome moment. Yeah, like you said, dude, it takes the power away from him, it humanizes him. And it really, the performances here are great. Like the music dropping away as well, like when he realizes that he's on speaker. Like it's just so well crafted. It's brilliant. God, I love this movie.
He's like, bathe them. He's like, cleanse them, cleanse the world, bathe them in the crimson of... do you have me on speakerphone? Like, I love that he's like, bathe them in the blood. And he's like, excuse me, do you have me on speaker? Like, he's like very cordial all of a sudden, like a totally different guy. I love Bradley Whitford as he's like, oh, Morty, you still there? What's going to happen next?
I'm telling you, man. Bradley Whitford is the MVP of this movie. We get the scene where they're just jumping in the lake. Like you said, the only thing that's really notable here is Frank Kranz.
I'm sorry, dude. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to laugh as you were talking, but I didn't skip past it, and it's Mordecai going, and the blood... I'm still on speakerphone, aren't I? And Richard Jenkins laughs like a little kid in church. I can't help it, man. That's so fucking funny.
I tell you what, because I was like thinking about this movie, and there has been sequel talk for a long time with this movie. I don't
Nah.
necessarily want a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
I would like a prequel with these two or something, because these two are absolutely perfect together, like Citizen and Hadley.
Yeah.
I don't know if prequel is the right word, but I just want to see more of these two together. Maybe like in different situations, handling different
Yes.
kind of like.
I think like an Amazon Prime anthology show of like this is the time that we released, the Merman in '86, or this is the time that we dropped
Could
like
be
the
perfect,
Scarecrow.
man.
Yeah, this is like the '92 Scarecrow Clown, massacre or something. I would love that.
Hadley's throwing a woman in a volcano and like Citizen's not there because he wasn't. Yeah,
there you go. There. Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, I think you get a lot of mileage out of this, and I wonder if there was ever like talk about that, because you can definitely do a mini series of it, or even just like see different countries around the world dealing with their particular situation, because like as Sigourney Weaver at the end says, every culture's different, the rules are different for every culture, so yeah, I mean it's just interesting to think about.
Mm-hmm.
So then, they're all jumping in the lake. Like you said, this is the moment where Marty, it's interesting because he does not take off his shirt because he's super ripped, or really baggy jacket. And then the guys at the facility are taking bets, right, on who or what the monster's going to be.
Right.
This is an outstanding sequence, and there are a few things that I need to point out, dude. The line delivery of, it's Hadley with this intern, and the intern chooses the Buckners. And then Hadley's like, no. Maintenance already has them. And the intern's like, man, they choose them every year. Hadley goes, what do you want from me? If they were creative, they wouldn't be in maintenance.
Oh, dude. He is so fucking, especially Richard Jenkins, where he was like, oh, did you see what electrical picked? They're pretty much throwing away their money. He goes, yeah, so says you, Aquaman. I was like, what does that mean? Oh, that's good shit, man. And I like the fact that we actually have our moral kind of like arbiter, or we have like our moral compass in Hadley, I believe is his name.
No. His name is
Truman.
Daniel Truman. Yes.
I like the fact that he's like, this is kind of fucked up. Do the bosses downstairs know about this? They're like, they don't care. They don't care what happens in this room as long as we get the job done.
This stuff.
Yes, that is fucking cool. I like that. I like the fact that there's basically nobody above these guys in charge. It feels like it feels like when your buddy is the manager of that grocery store where the cat food guy shows up at 9:58 on a Wednesday. That's actually Danny and I. Danny and I were like that growing up. It was just like, oh yeah, my buddy's manager. I don't give a shit. But yeah, it's like so wildly inappropriate. But at the same time, it just shows you how like cynical these people have become towards it's a dirty job, but someone's got to do it, kind of thing. Ultimately, if someone's going to do it, I'd rather it be us, kind of thing. Let's have some fun. If it's got to be done, it's got to be done, kind of thing.
And Hadley and Citizen have been doing it for a while because the moral part of that has left them. Like they're no longer thinking about the moral
arrogance. The arrogance of them, and like that's one of their biggest downfalls in this is the fact that they not only underestimate the group, but they overestimate themselves. They feel like they have everything under control, and it's like, man, I think it just shows kind of how sloppy they're throwing these bets. They celebrate way too early. It's like, you've gotten complacent with this shit, and now that's a huge reason why all this falls to shit.
No, absolutely. And that's kind of like highlighted with this moment here where Truman says, how can you... By the way, Truman has to be a play for the Truman Show.
It's got to be.
There's no way it's not. How can you wager on this when you control the outcome? And Hadley says, no, we just take them in the cellar. They make the choice of their own free will. Otherwise the system doesn't work. It's like the Harbinger. It's this creepy old fuck practically wears a sign, you will die. Why do we put him there? The system. They have to choose to ignore him, and they have to choose what happens in the cellar. We rig the game as much as we need to, but in the end, they don't transgress, they can't be punished.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. I love this. It's so good, man. We get information right when we need the information, you know what I mean? Like we just get little breadcrumbs of where we are in the bigger picture, and then we don't get the big picture,
right? And we only get as much as we need,
Yeah. Absolutely. They're all partying, right? They're playing Truth or Dare. I dare you to make out with. Please say Dana. Please say Dana. Please say Dana. Now this is where Jules makes out with what Marty thinks is a moose. It's not a moose.
What is that magnificent creature over there?
I'm living in a womb of reefer. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
This is. I mean, she goes for it. She really goes for it.
Yeah, I think it's a great, again, kind of indication of where they are as a group. And then after she's done, too, you have Hemsworth kind of being a dick. He's like, truth. You're just going to say fucking truth. And It's like, yeah, that is a alpha bro, douchebag thing. And it's like, yeah, he's acting weird. They actually call him out for it later on. I think it's cool.
Well, yeah, Marty literally says this as they leave to go fuck in the woods somewhere. He says, since when did Kurt become the alpha bro? And, where did, he notes that he's a sociology major. When did Jules become this, dumb
Bro Rogan,
blonde? Yeah. Right.
When did this guy start driving a Jeep,
Apparently, the production designer put sugar on the teeth of the
that's cool. Head. That makes sense.
Just so, it's better for her because.
Were you like me? You thought this thing was going to rip her face off the first time?
No, I was really turned on the first time, and still turned on, to be honest. Because this is.
She starts sucking that thing's tongue, and I'm like, "Oh my god, you are a dirty bitch! You are fucking dirty."
Yeah, she's.
Well, I guess it's all the aphrodisiac pumped into the fucking cabin.
Yeah, I was. Her father wasn't around a lot, I guess. But
she's like Meg's bully in Family Guy. Was it like Connie D'Amico or something?
Yeah, Connie D'Amico. Oh, what a throwback. So the wind blows the cellar door open. Dude, I just love the little interactions of, oh yeah, the wind must have blown it open. And fucking Marty's like, that makes sense.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense, man. Like that had me fucking dying. Is the fact that the door boom, that shit busts open and they're like, oh, it must have been the wind. It's like the roof would come off before that door blew open, dude. Like that. So that is also a 100% direct reference to Evil Dead 2, by the way.
Yes. Yeah.
Unbelievable. That is my Cabin in the Woods movie, is Evil Dead 2. That scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. Absolutely fucked me up. I didn't realize it was supposed to be kind of like a comedy. Yeah, it's a comedy. Yeah. I never really realized that growing up, but it still scares the shit out of me. Those first person views running through the woods, of like the deadites. That's great, man. But it obviously, Cabin in the Woods was. I don't want to say that was the first of these, but God, that's like late 70s, early 80s. I think they did not a fan film, but they did like a home video version in like 79 or 78 or like 80. It was really, really young. So it's like, man, maybe Evil Dead was kind of the first one to really kick that off, because you don't have Friday the 13th till like 81 or 80.
80.
I feel like Evil Dead was really kind of the first one to, but I don't want to talk out of turn though, because I'm really bad about 70s horror. I don't know a lot of especially late 70s kind of horror.
Yeah, I don't know too much about it either. I would say that it would be the Evil Dead. That first one,
definitely a top
at
3.
least. That first one is more of a straight up horror movie, and the second one is, I would call a full blown comedy. That is. Yeah. It's definitely got its horrific moments in it, for sure. Mm-hmm. I'm curious to get your thoughts briefly on the remake. Did you like that remake? Because I thought that was actually pretty fucking good, man.
Very good.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
I want to cover it on a bonus. That might be my next bonus pick, by the way.
Yeah, that's great. Not funny at all, but pretty, and actually a pretty serious movie about like an addict trying to kick their their problems and shit. That's just
going cold turkey.
Whew. Yeah. And I like oh god, she was in Castle Rock. Jane
Not Jane Lynch.
Jane Lynch. She's like
fucking-
Zoe's Infinite Playlist and shit. She's and a smoke show for one thing.
Yes. She was in Don't Breathe.
I was gonna say Jane.
I will
Jane
not
Van
stop
Dyne. I was
until
like, oh wait, that's the ant.
I will not stop until we find her name. One sec.
She's
God
she's
damn it.
also she's a really good actor. I remember seeing her pop up in Castle Rock and Evil Dead, like Zoe's Infinite Playlist. She's in a bunch of shit. She's
Levy.
actually really Jane Levy. There we go.
Yes. Yeah. Solid movie.
Yeah.
All right. So they're heading into the basement, right? And this is, I love this. This reminds me of Goosebumps, like a choose your own adventure kind of story. This could have gone in so many different directions, dude. I love this.
Oh yeah.
The idea of this is absolutely brilliant. Like the fact that all of them go to different artifacts, right? Like what's that dancing little box thing?
It's like a music box.
Yeah, the little music box with the little ballerina. Which, by the way, I want to see a spin-off of that because that little girl is horrifying. The
Which
visual
one?
of that? The little girl that they see later that comes from that music box, the little fucking teeth.
Oh yeah. That one is. I'm sorry. I was going over the line where they start reading the diary, and Marty's like, no. I'm drawing a fucking line in the sand. Do not read the Latin.
Yes.
And it's like, yeah. I as someone who in a
it has to be a reference to the Necronomicon, right? I mean,
yes, absolutely, absolutely. As someone in a past life who smoked a quite frankly obscene amount of marijuana. It actually does kind of really make me happy that the stoner is a guy who's like, no, man, fuck that. I'm not doing this shit. You know, like he's kind of like the guy who's high all the time is the voice of reason. I was like, yeah, that's kind of cool. You know, I actually really appreciate that.
It's perfect. But this is such a great moment. Like they are so close to each of the different monsters, right? Like Jules is about to put on the necklace. Kurt is over there with the ball, right? That comes from the Pinhead Hellraiser guy.
Right.
So Marty's over there with like film. I wonder what that is. Like
I don't know.
film?
If this were made today, I would say Sinister. That's the only thing that I could really think of, the Scott Derrickson, Ethan Hawke movies.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I really could not figure out what in the world this was referencing.
Yeah.
I don't know. But there's honestly, let's be real. There are so many fucking references in this that I had to YouTube half the shit that I even know about this movie because it was so much. Like, did you know about the Left 4 Dead tie-in game for this movie?
No, I didn't, but I know that there's quite a few monsters at the end from Left 4 Dead.
Yeah, in the index, of the shifting elevators and stuff. Now, apparently, MGM was in the works with Left 4 Dead 2 to add like Coach and everybody from Left 4 Dead. And you could play in the cabin from Cabin in the Woods, and you could go through the facility killing different monsters. But MGM went bankrupt, and then that just stalled like everything. The movie didn't come out for 3 years. Left 4 Dead ended up kind of becoming a cult property. I love Left 4 Dead. I think it's I've been playing Back 4 Blood, very similar game.
Yep. Left 4 Dead 2 is the first game that I remember was that was banned here.
That's right. I remember that.
I know Manhunt was banned as well. I remember a kid coming into school when I was in high school, and he's like, "Hey, I got a copy of Manhunt in my bag," and I was like, "What the fuck is that?"
It's like carrying a loaded gun.
Yeah, but yeah, I remember Left 4 Dead being banned, and it was a huge thing because it was a massive game. It was really anticipated. In the OFLC, which is the Office of Film and Literature Classification, they were like. They literally had to invent the R rating for games because it never existed before, which is kind of baffling.
Not even that bad.
It's kind of baffling because like the R rating had existed for movies for so many years already. So it's like, why did we wait this long to invent an R rating for games?
Yeah, so that's like 2005, 2006.
Yeah, I definitely remember reading about it and reading the controversy about it. And I was like, damn, that's weird. I mean, like I was never a Left 4 Dead fan. I understand why it was so popular, but I was like, damn, this is crazy.
a very, very quick story. I will never forget playing with. I don't think Danny was there. I don't think he ever really got into Left 4 Dead. But the same group of friends, me and a few friends, but a good friend of ours named Aaron. And there were these things called hunters. And hunters were guys in hoodies that climbed like buildings and roofs, and they would perch and wait. And as your group ran through, they would literally let out the most horrible like, "Row!" and fucking jump on you. And they were like prowlers. They just jumped on you as you went by. We're walking in a group of 4. One goes to jump me. I don't even fucking realize it. I'm in the very back of this like line. Aaron turns as we're walking. I mean, and this motherfucker is like a flying squirrel. This dude's like midair. And he's coming down on me like, I don't know, like the My Pillow guy at a Trump rally. You know, he's fucking coming hard. And in that moment, Aaron turns around. I've very rarely seen anybody react this quickly. But he literally turns and he's, you know, because you can pick up like a machine gun or like a shotgun. You know, you can't like get specific shit. But he's got a shotgun. And I'm walking, and you know, in a span of 4 seconds, the dude screams. He jumps. He's seconds away from grabbing me, and Aaron turns and just like it was like pull, and he fucking blew this thing out of the air. I mean, it's like hands were grazing my hair, and he fucking turns and just like and shoots this thing point blank, and just keeps walking and act like nothing ever happened. And I just stopped. Awesome. And I was like. Because when they jump you, they maul you quickly and you lose a bunch of health, and it's really, really shitty. But I've never forgotten that. That probably happened 15 years ago. And I've never forgotten that because it was one of the most amazing things I'd ever seen. It's just him like, it wasn't even attacking him. It was attacking me. And he was just like, oh, no, hold on. Let me take a sip of this beer real quick. And fucking killed this ass. Like, God damn, dude. It was like nothing ever happened. But I always think about that.
No, it's funny how like you have those like memories of cooperative multiplayer because like I remember this one I will never forget it in my life. It was the first Red Dead Redemption, and my friend and I were playing. We were both running up this mountain in the snow, and I turned to look, and there's a giant bear chasing him. Oh, we didn't realize it. We were just like running along up this mountain, and I looked behind him, and literally, it's like it must have been like a meter away from him, and I'm like, dude, behind you. We both get out our fucking repeaters and we're just like, let's kill this thing, man. Yeah, it's crazy. And like my PlayStation 5 hard drive is full of me like just capturing video of us in Warzone, just absolutely like just funny shit happening. Like one of us doesn't pull our parachutes and we're like, oh shit, a sniper got us before we hit the ground. Oh shit. All right, let's go back to the task on hand. This is... Okay, so yes, she reads out of the diary, like you said. Very Necronomicon style-esque, because we also get a shot of the Buckners outside, you know, as they're raised. And the facility celebrates. Quite many people are disappointed. And Citizen heads over to the board. Now, the board is interesting, right? It's interesting to note also that not all of the beasts or monsters on the board are in the cubes. Yes, there's more cubes than there are what's on the board. So I'm just going to go ahead and read what's on the board. Okay, so by the way, as I'm reading this, Colin, let's... pull something up from one of our listener comments, Danielle Cutter. She asked us a question. Right. She said, which one would you guys choose?
That's a good question.
Thank you so much, Danielle, for commenting. We'll read your full comment at the end of the episode. But I wanted to pull this up here while we're here because this is, I guess, where it's the most pertinent. I'm going to go ahead and read these options. Ready? So, werewolf, alien beast, mutants, zombies, wraiths, reptilius, clowns, witches, sexy witches, demons, Hell Lord, which is what Citizen chose, which I think the Hell Lord is that kind of the pinhead one. That's the guy. I mean,
apparently he does have a name, and it's like it's like fornicatorous or something. It's something crazy.
Of course it is.
That he does actually have a name.
angry molesting tree, which 100% is a reference
Evil
to
Dead.
Evil Dead.
Of course.
Giant snake, deadites, again from The Evil Dead. Kevin, which is a reference to Sin City.
I've heard that. I've heard people say it's a reference to Kevin. Some people said it's a reference to Kevin Williamson from Scream. That this is a very self-aware kind of thing. Like I've heard either way, but yeah.
Okay. A Mummy, The Bride, which is interesting because I'm like, Uma Thurman, The Bride?
Yeah.
Like from Kill Bill?
I don't know. That's interesting. Is it like The Bride and like the Night Folk in Red Dead 2? Like that woman who just like cries in the swamps and you come and find her and she kills you?
I like that.
The Scarecrow Folk? That's a great band name.
The Scarecrow Folk, Snowman, Dragon
Jack
Bat.
Frost. It's got to be.
Yeah. Dragon Bat. Vampires. Dismemberment Goblins.
Jesus.
Sugar Plum Fairy. Merman.
Which
of course is Hadley's choice. The Reanimated.
That's got to be. I mean, yeah, that's got to be Stuart Combs. Reanimator.
Yeah, from Stuart Combs? Jeffrey Combs.
Is that? Jeffrey Combs. Thank you. Yep. I think it's Stuart Gordon. I think that's who directed him.
Unicorn, which was chosen by the engineering department. The Unicorn is
great.
Incredibly.
So good.
Incredibly great.
The Huron. I don't even know what the Huron is.
I believe it's a Native American tribe. I think it's from The Last of the Mohicans, from memory.
Yeah, it's a monster captain. Oh, wait, no, this is just and it's bet on the R&D department. He can be briefly spotted in his cube prison during the system purge. Yeah, he does look Native American. I don't know what the monster is, though.
Yeah, here we go. Wyandotte people, or the Wendat, also called the Huron, Iroquoian indigenous people of North America who emerged as a confederacy of tribes. Yeah. It's Indian Americans. Sasquatch / Wendigo / Yeti.
Distant cousin.
Dolls. The Doctors.
Okay. Dolls, I think, are the strangers from the Liv Tyler movie. Because at first I thought they were the Purge. Those people with the doll masks on.
Does this predate the Purge?
It does. It definitely does, as far as I know. Because this was filmed in 2009. I don't think the Purge came out. Look at us both Googling this. The Purge came out. Yeah, so several years, or not, a few years. Versus The Strangers, I think came out in like 2006 or 2008. So this I feel like that was already out. But yeah, they're like lighting people on fire and shit. But Lindsay and I bought at a Halloween store last year the mask, one of those masks from The Strangers. And
that's
Lindsay
awesome.
Still has it in her trunk, so it looks fucking crazy. Anytime we're loading groceries up, we just stare at people like, "See this mask? Forget it. Don't ever act like you saw it. Like you're gonna wind up in this fucking trunk."
I'm just gonna say, man, The Strangers is a terrible movie outside of one shot. Outside of one single shot, it's a bad movie.
I haven't seen it in a while. Great concept, though. Just
simplistic
terrifying
concept that can happen anywhere. Yeah, absolutely. There was a break-in downstairs, so very, very briefly. Our elevator has been out for 3 weeks. It's now fixed. And our front gate to the apartment complex, the lock was broken. So there's been this we've got a deadlock on our door, so whatever.
Sure.
Someone posted, we have a mutual kind of Facebook group for this apartment complex, and someone posted that hey, we need to get the lift working because the lift's not working, the stairwell doors are open because people are just holding the stairwell doors open with
sure,
I don't know, whatever, they're just literally just wedging shit under it so that they're open. Someone commented, put a post up being like, "Hey, yeah, so we're having someone live with us. We're at work. This person's come home, and they've found an intruder in our apartment, literally one floor beneath us. And it appears that this person literally just strolled in. He literally just walked into the complex because the gate was open, because the lock's broken." And B, because the lift is out, he just literally just went up the stairwell. Yeah, and he just jimmied the lock. Didn't have a dead body.
Not in my America.
Terrible.
Not in the South. Oh, man.
In broad daylight as well. which is wild.
Be walking away with a few digits missing, man. No way. Not in the South.
Wild.
Can't do it.
So finishing off the whiteboard, the doctors.
We do see them later, like as the camera's cutting through, they're doing that surgery.
Zombie redneck torture, of course, which is the Buckners.
Ronald the intern.
Jack-o'-lantern.
I don't know if we ever see them. I don't think we do.
I mean, what's a jack? I mean, like, isn't that just a pumpkin?
Yes, I assume it's some kind of jack-o'-lantern scarecrow hybrid like monster,
Right.
you know, which is pretty terrifying, actually.
Giant, and then twins. So
Twins,
Danielle,
Shining reference.
yes, must be. So Danielle asks us a question: which one would we choose?
You know, I mean, obviously, my first thing is werewolf. Not because it's at the top of the list, but because I love werewolves. I'm a big werewolf fan. But I am a huge sucker for fairy tale, like monsters. Like, you ever play the Fable games back in the day? You ever play Fable?
Steph loves those games. I haven't played them.
Oh man, very good games. So I am close to going with something like Sugar Plum Fairy or Dismemberment Goblins, because that's just something I like, fairy tale creatures. But I think I'd have to go with either jack-o'-lantern or werewolves. You know, the giant snake, the mummy, maybe if I knew what some more of these are, like the zombies or something, you know, maybe I could give a more direct answer. But I think I'd have to go with jack-o'-lantern and werewolf.
Okay. I think almost without hesitation, I'd need to go with Kevin.
Just to see, I gotta know what's on that other side of that door.
Well, okay, so I'm assuming that he's Kevin from Sin City because the Cabin in the Woods wiki has him down as Kevin from Sin City.
I'm on wiki.
I'm just saying. Like,
you're a lawyer and you're going to Wikipedia.
It's not fucking Kevin Williamson. I'm sorry, I don't think it's Kevin Williamson.
I don't think so either. I just think it's a fun. I think it's just a joke. Just the name Kevin. Like, everybody in the office goes, oh,
probably
Kevin.
For anyone who doesn't know Kevin from Sin City, I'm just going to go ahead and read this. Kevin is a normal-looking adult male. He has no striking or outwardly features that distinguish him among other monsters, making him blend in with any other ordinary-looking people. This is extremely dangerous, as he can use this deception to lure away and convince his victims he is not a threat, only to kill them later. Since he is only mentioned in the novelization of the film and never seen on camera, his physical description remains unknown. Kevin could be your average serial killer, but that wouldn't be enough reasoning for the facility to capture him. It's possible he could be suffering from a severe mental illness that makes him extremely uncontrollable and unpredictable. Conceivably, Kevin could be the host for some demonic entity, or that he may possess supernatural abilities for which he uses for his evil deeds through Kevin's body. In the cellar, he is almost summoned by Marty by tampering with film tape. There we go.
Interesting.
He is in the novelization of the movie. He's described as a quiet, normal-looking person with a small smile on his face who calmly walks through the post-purge chaos until he comes across an injured guard. He then proceeds to, quote, exsanguinate him in a second. What does that mean?
Fuck, you got me, man, and I was an English major dropout.
Drain a person of blood.
Oh, okay, there you go.
That tracks.
Yeah, I did read something because I was watching a video breakdown of all the monsters, and something was mentioned about Kevin, like dismembering people, just being like he's like Topher Grace in Predators, you know? He's just like he just like cuts. I guess he just like mutilates people and shit. But it's like such a funny fucking joke, just seeing like unicorns, like sex, you know, like rape, fucking torture family, and then like all these other, and then it's just like Kevin. But you know that when someone says, "Oh, Kevin won," they're like, "Oh, fucking Kevin!" Like it's just he's somehow more terrifying.
No, absolutely. But like let's think about this situation, right? You have these like dumb teenagers partying in this cabin in the woods, and you just hear a knock on the door. Right, you open this big creaky wooden door, and there's Elijah Wood just standing there, and he's like, "Hey guys, my car broke down on the 105. You know, do you have a phone?" Turns out they don't have a phone because they're fucking, whatever.
Well,
And then,
I feel like it'd be
walks
so
in
much
and-
easier, because he's so normal looking. Yeah, he's got subterfuge,
But I want to see him drain these people of their blood. Like, what does that look like? Exsanguinate. I knew I'd heard the word exsanguinate somewhere. I think it was in like Blade or some shit because it was like vampire related. Makes sense. Thank you so much, Danielle, for your comment. I really appreciate it.
Great question. Thank you.
We'll roll around to your full comment at the end of the episode. But this is interesting. This conversation that Truman has with this woman. She says that no, there's something that nightmares are from. Everything in our stable is a remnant of the old world, courtesy of you know who. Monsters, magic, gods. You get used to it. I love it. I love that you get used to it, and then it's like, should you?
Right. Absolutely.
Hadley being depressed at the merman was not chosen.
Oh, dude, it's so
He
good.
had the conch in his hands.
That's one of my favorite, because it's just like once you realize what he's talking, it's like, oh, of course, that's what the fucking conch was. It makes so much more sense.
Right. So Kurt and Jules go outside to have sex, and as we already said, this is like Marty says, like, what the fuck? They're not acting like they usually are. You seriously believe nothing weird is going on. Like, it's just everything's so strange. And this is where he has a conversation with Dana about puppeteers.
I can't go past the great editing. Again, the fantastic editing of this movie is when she's dancing and she's like shaking her ass and she turns around and she's playing with the bottom of her shirt, and then it just hard cuts to Dana and dude on the couch just like staring at her. I fucking busted out laughing. That is a great, again, no dialogue, no nothing. It's just a great visual gag,
Absolutely. By the way, I skipped the part where we just got a brief look in at what's happening in Japan in the classroom with the kids, because that shit's wild.
They got the ring going on.
Yeah, they got some weird anime. Do you reckon on their whiteboard there'd be like some fucking giant porn tentacle monster? There would be.
Oh
100%.
Man,
their whiteboard would be so huge, dude. It'd be so fucking weird.
I'll go get it right now. I have a book that a friend of mine got me. That's like it's literally it's like a monsters encyclopedia, and it's like monsters from different countries, religious backgrounds, like different times and stuff. And you can just flip through and find out all these different stuff about these monsters, and especially a lot of like older Asian supernatural superstitions and stuff. They're pretty terrifying. They're actually really fucking gnarly, and there are definitely some of them that are like that for sure.
Yeah, I can't imagine being in that room in the Japanese facility, and
that's the tentacle that scoops that lady up at the end. It's like that's just a big penis. It's a big old fucking scaly cock.
So Kurt and Jules, right? I love everyone in the facility just watching.
Dude. I died at that. That's great. Your basic human needs disgust me. That's so good, dude. And it's all dudes. It's just nothing but a bunch of white dudes just like mouth open staring. That's so good.
It's all dude.
Dude, I'm chilly. Oh, well, no, I'm sorry. There's like one black dude in the middle of the room. My apologies. But
engaging pheromone mists.
Yes. Oh, and then like they pull that little switch and the light lights up like their little algae bed.
The little fuck pad. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
It's brilliant, dude. This is actually, we talk about this movie being a deconstruction of the horror genre, and it absolutely is. It's a satire. But the horror moments are actually pretty well done. Like it doesn't slouch on the horror elements at all. Like this,
it's pretty awful.
This moment here is actually super brutal. Like when they're having sex, and she reaches over, the camera follows her hand, and then boom, you get that stab right through her hand, and then you get Mr. Buckner with the bear trap, which claws her back.
Ooh. like drags
intense.
her. Oh, that is fucking. And the fact that they make Thor watch is like, Jesus Christ, man. He's like powerless to do anything. Oh, that's awful.
Well, Truman. Okay, so Truman goes up to Citizen and Hadley, and he says, "Do we really need to see her?" And he says, "Yes, we got to keep the customer satisfied, right? I mean, this is all part of the ritual. You know, we think for a second that this is just two horny old men, but it's not. This is all part of the ritual. You understand what's at stake here. Yeah,
I genuinely believe they don't enjoy this. That they're just
absolutely.
You know, it's but to them it's almost like traffic on the I-95 to work now. You know, it's just become such commonplace and like no big deal. But I do love Richard Jenkins. This we offer in humility and fear for the blessed peace of your eternal slumber. Amen. It's like as it ever was.
And he kisses that necklace. Yeah.
Oh man, it's like an unbelievably somber moment in the middle of this movie that goes like, whoa. This is a movie that as you start to laugh a little bit too much, the movie goes and it smacks you in the face and it's like, no, this is kind of fucked up. And it's like, whew, yeah, I guess you are kind of right. This is a little fucked up, you know? And I personally really appreciate that about this movie. And I apologize, by the way, for my squeaky ass chair. I got some WD-40 on this bitch.
Yeah, look, I'm sorry. My editing's not that good, so
I cannot fucking sit still. But yeah, no, the surprisingly somber moments of this movie are extremely well done.
No, definitely they are. One of the shots that really stands out to me is the close up of the rusty saw and then her eyes just above it, like she's looking at it. Yeah, wild. So she gets got, right? And Hadley gets up and he pulls the lever and they break the blood and we see that it fills this stone kind of like carving, right, of the hall.
It's like the bricks out of Fifth Element going on down there.
Yeah, well, this is, I mean, you know, they are obviously very technologically like well placed to pull this ritual off. Like, you know, they're pulling levers and like, you know, they're pushing buttons to release pheromone mist, whatever. And then you kind of like get to this lever and it's this analog situation where it's like cogs and a pre-filled vial of blood that like gets knocked out. And it's like, damn, yeah, this is ancient. Like this is like some kind of ancient Egyptian kind of thing, contraption.
Right, yeah. I mean, all the gears and shit that are versus, you know, they're having like gas piped in and they have like elevators and monsters and like Rubik's cubes and shit. It's very old world, you know, and I think that again, it's just another layer of that onion that as you're watching it the first time, you go, what the fuck is going on, you know?
Absolutely. Marty's reading his book with pictures, right? He's like, I'm gonna do a fucking puppet dance. Oh, that gets me all the time, dude.
I love that, man. I love that he's like, I'm the master of my own body. Nobody tells me what to do. Going for a walk.
That's awesome, dude. So Jules is making out with Holden, and then Kurt busts in, right? This is when all shit goes to hell. Because you also get Buckner throwing Jules's head right at Dana.
Oh, man. I don't want to go past Marty walking out on Dana making out, and he's like, he's got a husband's bulge.
Yes, perfect.
It's so good, man. He's so incredible. Honestly, who I get Marty confused with is the guy who is narrating at the end of 300, the guy with the eye patch on.
Oh, David Wenham is that actor's name. He's Australian or Kiwi. He's one of those. But yeah, he's from the Lord of the Rings as well. Like he's
something about seeing Marty just ripped made me think of that guy, and I was like, oh, okay, gotcha.
I can see it 100%. Kurt when he's like looking at the door and he's like, we gotta lock this place down. Like it's so, like he's like doing the squint, the action hero squint.
Yes,
and this is you know, whether it's intentional or not, you know, you can get away with it, but with this script because you're like, oh, they are 100% trying to play to their tropes, and this is how you can avoid actors potentially being bad. Let's just say for a second that Chris Hemsworth is a bad actor, right? him being accidentally bad works in the script,
right? Because now he thinks he's the main character in this movie, and it doesn't work that way at all. This
script is kind of like bulletproof in that way to critics or criticism.
Yes, anything that you can be like, I just didn't think they pulled that off that well. It's like, well, it's supposed to be there by design, which is good and bad. I mean, I don't think that this, but it is hard for me to look at this movie and not be like, man, is it a perfect movie? I don't know. It's really hard to say if it is or isn't, because it does have that, it has those invincibility cheat codes on, that it's like, it's really hard to level criticism at it because you don't know if it's intentional or otherwise. But other than that, I mean, I do think that whatever this movie is trying to say and whatever it's trying to do, it 10 out of 10 sticks that landing extremely well.
If this movie is intended to entertain, which I think it absolutely is, it does that in spades, because I can throw this movie on at any time. At any time.
Absolutely.
Watch the master at work. Citizen he flips a switch and, we should split up. We'll cover more ground that way. Marty in the background. Yeah, that makes sense.
That is, and you know what's so funny? This is one of the few times your accent has fucked me up, because I was going, Citizen? Who the fuck is Citizen? And I was like, oh, Sitterson. I literally was sitting here going, and I was like, is that what the guy from Billy Madison, his name is Citizen? And I was like, oh, Sitterson.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, no, you're fine. I could have just looked at the fucking IMDb trivia of what's going on. But yeah, I love that Marty is the voice of reason in all things. He's the one like, don't read the Latin. No, you don't split up. He reminds me of the Wayans brothers and Regina in fucking Scary Movie 2. It's like, hang on, every time some crazy shit happens, you white folk want to split up. and David Cross is like, okay, yeah, you're right. Wait, you, and you, and it's still all the white people anyways. That's so good,
perfect. Man. As soon as they lock all the doors, Marty's already kind of questioning. He's like, whoa, that door closed real quick. That was strange. And then, obviously, he knocks over the lamp. This is when he finds the camera. He's looking for the wires, and Hadley's panicking, right? He calls the chem department. We need 50 cc's or whatever. But Citizen says, wait, hold on. Here comes Buckner to the rescue.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. I love you. Wait a minute. Here comes Buckner to the rescue. It's like, that's so good, man. But again, most of your problem would be solved. You just went for the surefire thing of let's just pump some chems in there and knock them out. But it's like a pride almost. Like they just want the process to go naturally. They don't want to have to use like performance enhancing kind of shit.
But also they want them to suffer as well. Like I think that's a huge thing. Like the suffering and the punishment is absolutely an element. I mean, like, if you knock them out, there's no punishment, right?
Right, yeah. You need to have that, like, if he's asleep and they cut him in half, there's not really, okay, whatever. It's like he really needs to be, like, awake for all of this.
Yeah. So Buckner takes Marty out into the woods, and this results in the assumption that Marty's killed, which we know that isn't correct. But very much like a lot of other Joss Whedon properties, if there's no body, then,
right? Absolutely. Well, that and this triggers like a false, goal that they actually, that they've killed the fool, and that's not the case at all. It's funny to see them again. The arrogance. There's no body. You feel like after years of doing this, they might be a little bit more. No, I'm not having another Florida of 96. God damn it.
I love it. I love the history. So, yeah, they head down into the Black Room. This is Holden and Dana. And Holden kind of gets got a little bit, but he's not dead. And Dana finishes off Buckner. This is horror movie shit. Right? She even says a one-liner. Like, I guess this is the drugs affecting her as well. What does she say? She says something that's really cheesy.
Well, because she stabs him in the head with the crowbar, and she goes, "How's that work for you?" And then he just comes right back alive. It's like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. Yeah. But I love Richard Jenkins shocking the weapon out of her hand, because it always seems like in these horror movies, people get a weapon, get one whack, and then they forget about it.
That's interesting, because like I didn't pick up on that until a lot later. Like I was like, this is on my third or fourth watch. I was like, damn, it's actually a good pull. So Kurt finds them. They run to the RV, and this starts this whole kind of like situation of, oh shit, we got to blow the tunnel. But before we get to that, Colin, what do you say we take a quick break right here?
Well, let's do it, man. Sounds good.
Let's do it, baby. All right, guys, we'll be right back with more of The Cabin in the Woods. Don't go anywhere.
Hey guys, what's going on? Colin jumping in here in the middle. Just kind of let you know some stuff that's going on at Midnight Double Feature. First off, please stop by and rate and review us on iTunes. Let us know how we're doing. It helps out so much. It takes 5 seconds and it's free. So there you go. We would really appreciate it. Also, you can find us on our socials. We're on Facebook at Midnight Double Feature. We're on Instagram at Midnight Double Feature. We're on Twitter at MDF Pod. Please also join the group that we have attached to our Facebook page. It's called the After Party. Everybody's invited. That group has been really expanding and we're really excited to see where it's going. You can also find our website, midnightdoublefeature.com. We got our merch there. If you want to know something, you want to find us on our socials, you want to see what all's going on, that's kind of like our main hub. That's really where to find it if you want it. We also have a podcast for Breaking Bad that we have going on. It's called Bad Crystal. It's an interesting show where I actually haven't seen any of the episodes of Breaking Bad. Zoheb has seen it like 15 times, and he's kind of leading me through it. I'm experiencing it for the first time with a veteran, and it's an interesting dynamic, and it's a lot of fun. And lastly, if you really want to support the show and really put all your cards on the table, we do have a Patreon. That's patreon.com/midnightdoublefeature. It's $5 a month. There's only one tier. You get all access to everything that we've got going on. We've got bonus episodes. We've got off the rails kind of stuff. We've got a lot of stuff that's not going to make it to the main page, and there's a lot more geared for Patreon kind of stuff. So we really hope to see you guys over there. Like I said, plans start at $5 a month and end at $5 a month. That's the only one that we've got going on. We really hope that you guys can join up there, and we will hope to see you soon. See you guys later. Bye-bye.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the second half of our coverage of The Cabin in the Woods. We are freshly squeezed, as always, ready to dive right back into the second half of this movie. And, man, I couldn't be more excited because Japan have failed, right? I mean, all the girls do their little singing ritual. They get rid of the ghost.
Fuck you!
Oh my god. Do I absolutely lose my shit whenever Richard Jenkins just blows up with these kids. Fuck you!
God bless Richard Jenkins for not being above like the genre stuff, you know? Like he's the dad in Step Brothers, but he's also in Let Me In. You know, he pops up in this.
He's an Oscar winner. He won an Oscar for The Shape of Water, for Del Toro's Shape of Water.
Yeah, he's great, man.
And he won... this is a movie I gotta recommend you. Outstanding in Nightmare Alley. That is such a good movie, dude. Like, it's not a horror movie as the title would like lead you to suggest, but it's probably, I mean, outside of Dune, it's probably the most gorgeous movie I've seen last year.
Okay.
Like, it is a painting. And it's Del Toro. I mean, you can't go wrong with Del Toro.
We went on a roll awesome. For a while of Richard Jenkins movies. We had like 3 or 4 of them back to back.
Yeah.
I was like, Richard Jenkins.
We had Spotlight, Let Me In. Yeah, he's our boy.
Richard Jenkins, friend of the show, as Dean Norris is, of Bad Crystal.
Yeah.
I do want to point out very quickly when he comes back and it's showing like Buenos Aires has failed with like King Kong. There's actually a shot of that helicopter flying over the burnt out outpost, and that is totally the thing. That has to be the thing. There's no way.
You reckon?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I 100% think that, because when they showed it, I went, wait, is that from The Thing? Like, that's the first... I thought it was actual footage from John Carpenter's movie. And I was like, holy shit, wait a minute.
I can say it too.
Absolutely,
I know. And if you hadn't pointed it out to me, I wouldn't have picked it up, but I'm glad you said... I wonder what the Madrid the whole building up. Sorry, the building blowing up is.
I saw
it's interesting.
one thing that somebody said it might have been a vampire like Dracula, and I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
But Stockholm, Sweden, it's like an icy kind of fortress, and I was like,
Yes.
okay, that's definitely like John Carpenter's Antarctica, you know. And I feel like this is a movie that lends itself, even if you don't enjoy the movie, even if you think it's maybe a little snobbish, and maybe if you think like, it's kind of looking down at its nose and stuff, I think that's a fair criticism. I honestly do. I think that if some people, that might not ring the bell for them in that way, but you have to tip the hat to like, these guys know their horror. These guys know their genre stuff, and they're paying homage to, I mean, almost every fucking goddamn horror movie ever made in these movies. Or a horror movie ever made in this movie. Especially when you have like an encyclopedic knowledge of all of these different fairy tale creatures and shit. It's like, holy hell, man. And like, I love the line they have to blur between like copyright infringement and, you know, like the Hellraiser dude has like saw blades in his head. You know, I was like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, but they have Deadites, right? Which is is that an original Evil Dead?
I don't know. I think so, but maybe they licensed it. You know, like
Okay.
point in case. Apparently, they're in Left 4 Dead. Well, I know for a fact in Left 4 Dead, there's like a boomer, there's like a jackal, a hunter, a witch, and they all pop up in this movie. They're actually in little glass cases at one point. And I personally, like, I haven't caught them myself. That's just secondhand shit I've heard from like YouTube, because I'm a slob who doesn't do his own research. But the
we don't do our own research.
No,
here,
God, no.
That's not a thing.
No,
it's not a thing we're known for.
Now that's the best thing, is that so many people have talked about this movie before you. You just cannibalize all their shit, you know. No, but that was a real thing, and that's what ended up following through with like the Left 4 Dead tie-in game and shit. I was like, man, that's such a bummer. That would have been really fucking cool. You know, horror games have taken off so well. Friday the 13th, this new Evil Dead game is coming out. I'm really excited. Dead by Daylight. You never played that? Very good game. Very excited for like these Dying Light, all these like horror co-op games. I think this is a genre. It's not a new genre, but it's a genre that I think people are lacking in for sure.
Absolutely. Something else I just wanted to add. When you said that, yes, you got to tip your hat to the fact that these filmmakers know what they're doing. And yes, it is a fair criticism to level against them that maybe they are being a bit snobbish, but I love that this movie doesn't really talk down to anyone. Like, it doesn't. If you are a fan of these slashers that have these stereotypes, right, like Wrong Turn or, your Evil Dead ripoffs or Cabin Fever, it doesn't call you out for being right. It doesn't call you out like for being a fan of those stuff. You know, like it's just pointing out like, hey, like you probably like these things. You know, but like,
aren't they a little
like,
repetitive?
Just know
for sure,
right? Exactly, and I'm sure even fans of those things, you know, notice that they are repetitive.
I mean, of course, out, right? This is 2009. I mean, you were talking about Scream earlier. You know, what was that? 96. You know, I think even by that point, you know, there was you have a master of the genre breaking down the genre. So I think by the time you've got Joss Whedon, who's done Buffy and, you know, all of this stuff by 2009, for sure. I think they're definitely, it's a love letter and a criticism, you know, and I think that's how,
absolutely.
I think that's how, you know, these guys are coming from a good place. Is it's like me, you know, I get it. Joss Whedon is not held in the public eye as much as well as he was, especially for being such a connoisseur. He's like the Simon Pegg of like, you know, just like kind of like the nerd.
Yes, he's Kevin Smith. He's the nerd's nerd, right?
Like, and also for having these really good female characters and stuff. And now he's kind of shot that in the foot. But at the same time, these guys are definitely, it's a love letter and a criticism, and rightfully so. You know, it's just, man, it's really hard to think of another movie like this except for like Shaun of the Dead and Dale and Tucker versus Evil, or Tucker and Dale, whatever it is.
Tucker and Dale versus Evil, yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of Alan Tudyk, who pops up in all of Joss Whedon stuff, I love Alan Tudyk. He's so good. K2SO from Rogue One.
He's in a show called Resident Alien.
I've heard of this. Is it good?
I've watched the pilot. It is Outstanding.
Okay.
Huge recommend, man. Huge
I
recommend.
was worried
It's coming back for another season.
I was worried about that. Sci-fi doesn't have a great track record when it comes to original stuff,
Mhm.
and I love Alan Tudyk, and I'm like, I think his name is bringing a lot of people to that show, so I'm really happy to hear that.
Yeah, he's so good. But all hands on deck, right? The tunnel hasn't blown. This is when Citizen runs across the facility. Make a hole, make a hole. They really do a good job of making you feel how urgent this is. Like, it is imperative that they do not escape, right?
Yes.
It's also incredibly evil. And like, this really kind of like made me wonder, I'm not a religious person, but like, if you are Kurt and Dana and Holden and you see this tunnel collapse like this, you're like, this is a fucking act of God.
Right.
Like,
right.
like this is when things start to be a little like, okay, we're dealing with something a little bit more than just the Buckners here.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's something happening there's something extra, something else is afoot here.
Yes.
And then, like it's interesting because, like these guys are also playing God. Like Citizen and Hadley are also playing God. The Ancient Ones are pulling their strings. So yeah, who watches the Watchmen?
Right. Well, not only do you have this tunnel blowing, but then you have this like Stephen King Under the Dome type shit, and then that's when it goes, oh, okay, no, something's going on, man. Like I think everybody kind of starts checking that box off.
Yes, absolutely. Interesting to note as well, something that comes into play a bit later. The demolition team didn't receive the message because there was a glitch, right? That's something important to note.
I think that speaks to an overconfidence in just their infrastructure, that they're just like that's the sign of bad teamwork in a weird way, that they aren't communicating, the departments aren't communicating with each other and telling each other exactly what's going on. It's like, it's just this overconfidence in what they're doing, and they're getting a little bit too wrapped up in the workplace shenanigans, I feel like, versus like really locking in and knocking out what they're supposed to do, and then partying later, making sure all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted. It's like a weird, I don't know, man. It's like they've gotten so complacent in their job. It's interesting.
This movie, it could be a manual to be like, hey, don't forget to give 100% at your job and then party later.
Right, right, 100%, 100%.
Okay, so this prompts our trio to reevaluate, right? So they get outside, they look at the big ditch. I could jump this. Kurt is so confident, right? He says, I've jumped bigger gaps than this, it's fine. But like, when I get out there, I'm bringing everything. I'm bringing helicopters, I'm bringing large fucking machine guns. We're getting back at the Buckners.
Oh,
right?
This moment was palpable in the theater. This was great. Like, I mean, it's been 10 plus years since I've seen this in theaters, but when this happened, I remember everyone being like, oh my God, like, what the fuck is going on, man? This is when, obviously we as the viewers know what's happening, but for our main cast of characters to finally be kind of let in on the joke is really, really, almost like relieving, it's almost a relief that they know what's going on.
No, absolutely. But this is such a great play on this genre, dude. Like, he is, like, Kurt is supposed to be our hero, right? He's the athlete. He's supposed to be the one that's, able to get over this ditch and bring back help. And it's such a triumphant moment for these characters. And he's so confident. This line, I absolutely howled with laughter when Holden says, "Don't hold back." Kurt looks back at him and says, "Never do." I'm just like, what the fuck does this mean? What the fuck does that mean? Never do? Okay. And he jumps across the ditch and midway slams into the barrier in a violent slam, and him kind of pinballing on all the way down, and you never see his body stop.
Dude,
that's the thing.
It's like falling off a map in a video game. He just kept going.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's so sudden.
Well, yeah, that it's just, it is such a, I don't know. It's like once that happens, you can feel the chemistry in your brain change. You can feel like, okay, That's new. What the fuck? Now we have something else to play with, and now we realize that there's another act. There's another player at work here.
I kind of wish we hadn't seen the eagle fly into the barrier.
That's
just a little bit.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
It's a small nitpick.
Mm-hmm.
It's a small nitpick.
I'm down for it, though. I think you're right. I think just seeing him hit that fucking wall, it would pay off a lot more. But here's the thing.
Yes.
I had forgotten about the eagle when this happens. I had really kind of forgotten that this was going to happen.
So did I. First time I saw it.
Yeah. So it is kind of interesting, but at the same time, I think the payoff would be a little bit more without it.
But I also remember being slightly disappointed, too, because, me thinking that this is going to be a straight-up horror movie, which it isn't, I also was disappointed that at this time, your biggest actor is killed off in such an unceremonious way.
Yeah.
Post Thor, just pre-Avengers, I think, is when I watched this. And I was like, oh, what? Is that it? Are you fucking serious? I remember having that snobby, because I was 19. I'm 19 years old watching this, right? So I'm like, what the fuck?
Well, that, and like you said, when this movie was made, Chris Hemsworth was still, fuck, his biggest thing at that point wasn't he on like a soap opera?
Home and Away in Australia.
Yeah, well, same thing with Margot Robbie too. I think she was like a soap star.
So there's two shows here that are pretty huge, and quite a lot of actors have gotten their start from him. So Home and Away is a massive one. That's Chris Hemsworth one. And Neighbours is another one. That's Margot Robbie. And Neighbours is going to end soon. It's been on the air for like 35 years or something.
Holy shit. Yeah, so I think when you have an actor like that, this was, it's such a blessing in disguise, because surely they didn't know what his fucking career was going to end up being. So the fact that they just kill him off right then and there is such a crazy... Okay, now this is kind of a spoiler for the newer Suicide Squad, the one with James Gunn. Some characters get killed off like very quickly when that starts, and it's like I have not seen the movie all the way through. I just know what happens to certain characters, and when that happens, that's when you know that nobody is safe. That this is not your typical slasher. I think that this is when the movie really gets into like what it's about and shit. I think that now we're hitting the point because we're almost done with like our kind of auxiliary characters. Now we're focusing on the Jester and the Virgin, and I think that's where our two main characters really are and really lie with this.
Well, this is where I really thought of Scream, right? Scream opens with Drew Barrymore, who at that time is a pretty big star.
Yes, that's
and
a great
is killed
point.
off
That's really
after
good.
10 to 15 minutes, right? So it's like it's kind of like it's kind of doing exactly what that did. I'm sorry, I had to Google it because I know that there were quite a few huge A-listers who started on Neighbours and Home and Away. So this is kind of like for you Australians, if you're listening. These are a few actors who got their start in Home and Away or Neighbours. So Russell Crowe was on Neighbours. Chris Hemsworth we talked about. Kylie Minogue was on Neighbours. Isla Fisher was on Home and Away.
Damn.
Naomi Watts was on Home and Away. I don't know who Luke Mitchell is. Margot Robbie we talked about. Heath Ledger was on Home and Away. Liam Hemsworth was on Neighbours. Yeah. Simon Baker, you might know from The Mentalist. He was also in LA Confidential. He was in Home and Away. Natalie Imbruglia, she was in Neighbours. Delta Goodrem, she was on Neighbours. Isabel Lucas was on Home and Away. Guy Pearce was on Home and Away.
Jesus.
Love Guy Pearce too. Julian McMahon, you might know from Nip Tuck, in the Fantastic Four movies. He was in Home and Away. Yeah.
Jesus.
Ben Mendelsohn, Neighbours. Like it's crazy. These two shows are just so iconic for just launching careers.
Dude, not only that, but I looked up a picture of, I'm gonna say, is it Fran Kranz? that the guy that plays
Frank Kranz? I think
Kranz.
It's pronounced, but I don't know.
He's so ripped. He has like the V cut going down into like his hips. He's got he's got like those sweat trenches for when you're just fucking.
He's got the Brad Pitt Fight Club.
Oh, dude, absolutely, and it's like that is so insane to see. It's not the fact that, I mean, anybody can do that if they really put their mind to it, and they have proper diet and exercise. But it's that face on top of it. He's not an ugly dude. I'm not, but he looks like a Harry Potter character, So it's kind of weird to see this like Brad Pitt Legends of the Fall like fucking body on top of it. It's very, very. It's like a strange juxtaposition,
I'll tell you who he really looks like. That it just clicked. If you've seen Van Helsing, the friar,
that's the same
Van
guy
Helsing
from 300. That's the same guy from 300.
David Wenham. Yes, it is David Wenham. Yes, I just looked it up. Because I was like, David Wenham, I feel like is in that movie.
That is so funny. We came to the same conclusion, like taking
David
separate
Wenham.
roads. That's so funny.
Yeah. It's just interesting because David Wenham's such a bitch in that, but he's such a BA in Lord of the Rings and 300.
I love him in Van Helsing because he was like, "Wait, you're a monk? You can't have sex?" He goes, "Actually, I'm just a friar. I'm not a monk yet, so I can have sex and I can curse." Damn it! And he he's so fucking funny in that.
Absolutely. Okay, so Holden bites it. Right, he gets stabbed in the neck by Buckner. As he's driving the RV, which slams into the lake, and this starts this whole struggle between Buckner and Dana.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Citizen and Hadley start celebrating, and this is where we find out that the virgin's death is optional, right?
Yeah.
The order of the killings is absolutely arbitrary, as long as the whore dies first and the virgin dies last or survives.
Yeah, that's got to be some weirdly like puritanical shit,
Yeah.
Some like religious shit going on there.
Yeah, it feels biblical. This is one of my all-time favorite moments in this entire movie. This is it's a close-up on Hadley. He's watching the monitor. It's so strange. I'm actually rooting for this girl. She's got so much heart. And you think of all the pain and the tequila is my lady. My lady. Come on in, guys. Come on in. You're welcome.
Damn, that was close.
Yeah, photo fucking finish.
I don't understand. You're celebrating?
They're celebrating. I'm drinking.
But she's still alive. How can the ritual be complete?
The virgin's death is optional as long as it's last. Main thing is that she, suffers.
That she did.
It's so strange. I'm actually rooting for this girl. She's got so much heart. You think of all the pain and the...
Tequila is my lady! My lady! Come on in, guys. Come on in. You're welcome. Tequila! From darkness, there is light!
Dude, there are so many good moments. Because, like, there's one later on when it's like, I used to be in a band, and you play a show and people come out to you afterwards and people people you don't know, which was really nice, and be like, hey, that was a great show, man. And you would try to downplay it, but that you kind of killed it sometimes. And I love the moment that they're like, dude, the fact that you guys did this was so cool. And fucking, oh, goddamn, what is his name? Bradley Whitford is like, and yes. He's got his hands in his pockets and he's like looking off and he's like, I mean, it's pretty cool. And then it zooms in on him and he's like, I just wish it was a merman, and it's like, oh, dude, that is like being in a band and your bass player is like, man, I really wish we would have played like My Hero by the Foo Fighters, though. We've been practicing it all week and I really wanted to do it. And it's like that is exactly what that feels like.
This kind of like 3-minute digression of like, let's go check in on these different employees in this facility. This one guy who's bought tickets and trying to hit on this girl.
Oh, that is rough, man. Yeah, that is. Oh, there's one little moment too when they're all celebrating and you look on the screen and Dana is like vomiting blood on. Yeah. It's like, whoa, holy shit, man! It just adds to that awful juxtaposition of them celebrating just her total suffering, you know?
Absolutely. So this is when Citizen speaks to Demolition, and he says that it wasn't our fault. There was a glitch, power reroute from upstairs. Citizen pauses and he says, "What do you mean upstairs?" And then the phone rings. This causes Citizen and Hadley to look at each other. Hadley says, "Turn the fucking music off." Picks up the phone. He says, "Which one?"
Oh,
I love this, man. This is such a, we already suspected that Marty was alive, but this is such a great little twist. Such a great little, like, you guys fucked up. Like you said, Colin, they got too complacent. They got too confident. And that's their downfall.
Well, and the fact that you see all that shit shatter the moment that the phone rings, and he's like, hello? Oh, what do you mean? The Virgin's the only one that's left. And he's like being really quiet. Whereas normally he'd be like, hello? Oh, yeah, big dog. And he would like, I want everybody to hear how awesome we are. And now he's like, he's being real quiet because he knows he fucked up real bad. And it's like, oh, that's good shit.
Yeah. There's something really ominous about the red phone. They look at each other and they're like, that's never rung before.
Right.
Like, that's never rung before.
It's like Commissioner Gordon calling Batman in the 60s,
Yes. Yeah. Marty shows up and rescues Dana. I love that he uses the bong.
Mm-hmm.
Love that he uses the bong.
Me too.
Yeah. And he jumps inside the grave of the Buckners, right? Much to Dana's surprise. And this is
an
great.
awful design flaw. This is like the exhaust port in the Death Star,
Yes. Yeah.
This is a really, because I get it. Who the fuck would jump into a grave, But this guy Marty is just not, it's not your typical final girl, and it's not your typical stoner guy. That's
right.
That's why I really, like I said, they deserve to survive.
This is the power of weed.
Right. This is the power of marijuana. Absolutely. This podcast is brought to you by marijuana and Kraken Rum and Dr. Pepper as I take a sip of my that's stout. But yeah, no,
drugs, not hugs.
Drugs, not hugs. I do. And as someone who honestly does, I don't, smoke like I used to at all. But I obviously very, very much so advocate for legalization and decriminalization. I love the fact that he's not a fucking idiot, that he's not a moron, that he's not just like, he's not Seth Rogen and super bad,
yes.
or Pineapple Express. Sorry. I feel like they just get kind of like a bad name doing that. So I was really happy that he actually is kind of like an intelligent, insightful person,
Absolutely. It's so forward thinking on Drew Goddard and Joss Whedon's part to have a character like this in the movie. It's brilliant. The line reading of, I had to dismember that guy with a trowel always gets me, dude.
That's good.
He's got his eyes wide open, like, he's just looking at the corner.
I love the double take. He's like, what have you been up to?
She tells him, there's nobody else. And she's like, hey, you figured it all out. It was all you, man.
Mm-hmm.
Puppeteers. He manages to hotwire the elevator, and why don't you talk about this? Let's talk about this.
I love that werewolf when they hotwire it and they get down. That is
how
a werewolf
immediately.
should
I thought
look.
of you immediately.
Well, yes, thank you, because that is exactly what I think a werewolf looks like. The elongated head, like he's like 7 feet tall. I was like, holy shit. And this is like me as a kid in a candy shop, just flipping through monsters, it's like Webster's dictionary for fucked up shit. I love it. I love seeing the ghost pop up, the werewolf, all this stuff is great. And this has been since I was a little kid. I've always been obsessed with monsters. I've always loved monsters. I've always had a fascination with them. So to see this like love and care for these characters, and then them trying to get in as much stuff as they can legally get in without like breaking copyright infringement, I think is really, really fucking cool. The fact that they are able to get in like Evil Dead, Hellraiser, The Strangers, all this different shit that they're able to bring in and still not like break that copyright thing it really truly shows that they can walk that thin line between being like, we know that you know that we know that you know what this is, kind of thing. But we can't legally say that it's Pinhead. We can't say the word Hellraiser. I think that's really fucking cool.
No, absolutely. Just like, this seems like as a fan of Supernatural growing up, when it aired in 2005, the first, like, from seasons 1 to 4, I was a huge fan, really close follower. I owned all the DVDs. This feels like Monster of the Week kind of thing.
I can see
like,
that.
as if, and it's so, like, this applies to X-Files as well, because X-Files also followed that kind of, like, structure, between mythology episodes and Monster of the Week episodes. And this is just so fun to watch. It's like, it's like the Avengers and their villains. It's like, oh, god damn it, like, which villain's gonna pop up now? Each one of them is so unique. They have amazing abilities. And like, we're basically here.
Right.
When she presses the purge button.
Oh. Well, and also, not to go too far past like what you were talking about with the X-Files, there's literally a quote. So the X-Files has an episode, I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically The Thing. It's like, I'm honestly surprised they didn't get the shit suit out of them. But it's, they go to like Antarctica and discover something in the ice that becomes like a bacterial infection, and it takes people over.
I've seen this episode.
Yeah.
It's called Ice.
Ice, thank you. There's a part where he goes, we're not who we are, and that's literally what Marty says at one point in this episode or this movie is we're not who we are. It's like, oh, that's cool. At least they're referencing, Joss Whedon, obviously writing Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I'm sure he watched X-Files. I'm sure they're both fans. But yeah, this is are you talking about like right when she hits that button and the fucking doors open up to oblivion?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. That is okay. Not only does it serve a great story purpose because that's how they get out of the situation that they're in, but it's such a great wish fulfillment. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're an audience member, you're seeing all these monsters, you're like, oh, I wonder what that does. Wonder what that does. It fulfills that kind of like promise too, like of like, you guys want to see what these guys can, what these things can do. Here you fucking go. And all hell breaks loose, man. She presses the purge button. You hear the fucking elevator sound.
Oh.
The fucking cop looks up and he's like, fuck. And then, bam.
Dude, there is so much. It's like you have like zombies, bats, the werewolf. There's like a robot scorpion, like a giant snake, like all this different shit that's going on. And I love the fact that despite the fact that this security facility is like top notch, Pentagon, DEFCON level 6, crazy shit. And there's like nothing in their repertoire to like fight these things off. They're basically helpless. Even if one of these things were out, that would still be a fucking challenge to them. Like, even with their MP5s with extended mags and shit, they're still getting fucking like floored. And I like the fact that this happens like multiple times, that like they get ripped apart and then it's like ping, 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 and the doors just keep opening. It's like, god damn, dude.
Yeah, it's a beautiful sequence. I love the security footage cycling between each one. We see the doctors, this guy crawling on the ceiling.
Oh,
and he's kind of like got his head upside down. He approaches the camera. Oh man, if you pause it on that like freeze frame, it's wild. You've got employees committing suicide by fucking gunshot. Those guys from like the strangers, they got these guys like tied in a circle and they're just lighting them on fire. Yeah. This entire sequence, I love like when you zoom out of the monitors. There's that one on the left, and it's just giant fucking reptilian foot.
Yes,
just like
very
approaching
Jurassic
this
Park.
woman.
Yes,
Yeah.
And I like once they actually cut to the command console and you see the clown and the monitor on the bottom left, and it's like, oh, like not even knowing that. 5-6 years later they're gonna have this like clown outbreak of shit. You know. And yeah, that's just Stephen King. Come on, like Stephen King ruined clowns. I think like John Wayne Gacy and Stephen King kind of ruined clowns like universally.
Yeah. The sound design of this giant bat is insane.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's fucking wild, man.
I don't know if this is true, but like the way the mouth opens up is very similar to the vampires in Blade 2. You know, speaking of Guillermo del Toro,
cool.
and I was like,
awesome.
Some people have speculated, like, oh, is this like the thing? Because after the vampire comes out, you see this girl in white in the hallway coming towards this guy. People have said this is the antagonist of the game Fear. I don't know. Never played it. I don't know. I'm really ignorant.
I've played them.
Okay, okay. But there's just so much shit where it's like, man, I mean, even me who is like, I've been steadily watching horror for, God, 20 something years. I still can't, name every single one of these, I'm not saying I'm the expert on everything horror, but like it's, few and far between. I don't catch like certain references, and there's a lot of shit in here I just don't catch.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, this is something you need to watch multiple times. The unicorn goring that guy is just
the music cue. It's like, oh
yes,
like
it's like this like earthly.
Yes, it's like Lord of the Rings, My Little Pony, like kind of remix. It's incredible.
It's fantastic. And we get one last elevator opening, and it's Patience Buckner on her way. Right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So they're in the command
monsters?
center.
Yeah.
Yes, Truman gets overrun by scarecrow monsters. You see Hadley in the back fighting off this giant spider. Is this giant furry spider? Is that what that is?
I think so. I've heard some people say this is a reference to Eight-Legged Freaks. I'm like, I don't know about that. I mean, there were giant spider movies before Eight-Legged Freaks, but yeah, I love this whole just them getting pushed.
Aragog.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this, like, them being pushed back to, like, literally their backs are against the wall to where the guys who are, like, keyboard warriors in the office are pulling out MP5s and, like, lighting up giant fucking spiders, and they're still not losing their cool. There's like, all right, get the code in, come on.
Hadley looks awesome with that fucking MP5, dude.
Yes.
Yeah. This explosion looks awesome. Like I don't know how they did it, but, like, the grenade going off on Truman and blowing up these scarecrows blows back Hadley, and do we get a moment, baby?
Oh, come on. That's so good, dude. That's so fucking great.
The delivery of, like, I'm defeated, but also why does it have to be the merman?
Right, exactly. It's like it's him just it's kicking somebody when they're down. He's like, what the fuck, man? Come on. Apparently, this is basically like Drew Goddard and Joss Whedon were like, yeah, these guys are us. Like, these guys are the two of us, like, just hanging out and coming up with the shit. And I was like, yeah, I could see Joss Whedon being, this fucking guy,
Yeah, for sure. The blood coming out of the back of the merman is wild.
Oh, it's such a dude. That it would have been amazing even without that little touch. But it's just such a small thing. It's just, oh man, so good.
For sure. The woman gets grabbed by a giant tentacle, looks like a giant kaiju. I mean, like, I love that you don't even see it. It's just like a big, Japanese-ish thing. Citizen manages to make his way through the hatch, and he turns the corner and absolutely immediately gets stabbed by Dana.
Yeah,
and this is a great moment because he looks at her and he says, "It's you." And then as he dies, he looks at Marty and says, "You have to kill him."
Oh man. Also, I love that somehow they got down here, but like Richard Jenkins had to put in a code for 10 minutes, but somehow these fucking schmucks just got like dropped off like FedEx Express down here. Well, and at first I was like, oh, he's talking about the Elder God. You got to kill him. I was like, oh, no. He's talking about Marty. Like, you have to kill Marty, And I mean, because I guess we're kind of there. I don't want to skip too far ahead. But she kind of considers killing Marty. I think that's interesting. The fact that Dana comes pretty fucking close. Dana also, come on. Why am I just now putting that together? Dana Scully.
Dana Barrett?
Oh, Dana Barrett, Dana Scully. There's a couple different ways you can go with that.
Oh, she's a redhead. They're both redheads.
Yeah, there you go. I think it's kind of crazy that she actually stops and she's like, oh, well, well, I couldn't blow this. But you're not walking out of here alive. They're not going to let you live after this.
Right.
Like the secrets of the earth. Like there's no way.
Well, it's a fantastic moment because there's no way that they don't entertain it. Like, it's kind of like the good of the few over the good of the many, right? I mean, like that's what we're talking about here.
Sure.
So, like Dana entertaining Marty's death is pretty logical, I think.
Mhm.
Like, I would have been, if there was not this moment in this movie, I would have questioned it. I would have been like, oh, like they should have like considered it a little bit, and I'm glad she does.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they figure it out, right? They look at the displays, right? You've got the whore, the athlete, the
Scholar,
fucking the fool, the virgin, and the scholar. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And who enters the scene?
Fucking Dana Barrett herself. That's crazy, man. Like I
Dana
said,
Barrett herself.
this and Paul.
Such a Paul moment.
Yeah. That's all I could fucking think of. And the thing is, she's talked. I don't think in this you've heard her voice at all, but in Paul you hear her talk the whole fucking movie, and you don't even realize it's her.
You do hear her voice when they enter the facility because she's over the speakers.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I really like Sigourney Weaver. Obviously, I like Aliens, I like Ghostbusters and shit. But she was apparently when she was like studying acting in college, Sigourney Weaver's acting coach was like, "Yeah, you just need to quit. Like you're bad. Like don't waste your parents' money. Like you need to do something else." And it's like what a fucking idiot, man. Like what a moron. And the fact that she just went on to do shit like this, and now she's considered like royalty. Her and like I think her and like Jamie Lee Curtis kind of share that. I don't want to say like they're the top ones, but they're pretty far up there.
Scream queens, right? I mean, like Alien is one
it's
of the
horror,
original
yeah.
ones,
The first one
right?
for sure,
yeah,
definitely horror,
for sure. But yeah, she says we work with what we have. When Dana says, "I'm not a virgin,"
it's good.
Yeah, but this is kind of like we now have all of the pieces to the puzzle, right? They rise, the gods that used to rule the earth. As long as they accept our sacrifice, they remain below. But all the other rituals have failed.
This
right?
felt like
This
Hellboy.
is
Feels a lot like the end of the first Hellboy movie.
keeping them at bay. I don't remember the first Hellboy. I used to love it as a kid. I just don't remember it now.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the guy with the knives.
It's got a giant squid at the end, and he like takes that grenade belt and he lets it eat him, and he blows himself out. And it's like, giant squid and like elder gods and shit. Some
that's the one where the steampunk guy with the knives, and like had to crank him.
Yeah, and he turns his like chest on and like pulls out the Assassin's Creed like blades.
Badass.
Mm-hmm.
Badass. I love Marty being like, God, they're both so enticing.
You said that right when I looked down and the fucking line was popping up in my subtitles. Like, holy shit.
But yeah, Dana considers killing Marty. She raises the gun and says, "The whole world, Marty." Oof. And yeah, who rocks up but the werewolf?
Well, yeah, and I love the fact that Marty just kind of sees it and just lets it happen, and she gets attacked to have, what do they call her? The director, I guess, is Sigourney Weaver?
The director.
The director?
I'm going to go with the director.
They have this fight, and, it goes back and forth. And I'm not trying to step on your toes or jump too far ahead, but the moment when he was like, she's like, "Yeah, sorry, I almost shot you. I probably wouldn't have done it." He's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I almost let a werewolf eat you." it's like, in a regular movie about everyday life, you could see someone being like, "Yeah, sorry, I thought I was going to have to shoot you." But like, "Yeah, sorry, I was going to let that werewolf fucking eat you." It's like such a good line. It's like, what the fuck, man?
It's brilliant. And the director gets done by Patience Buckner.
I fucking love that. I love the fact that it's the thing that they chose. It's like ultimately this patient. You said Patience Buckner. Mm-hmm. And it was she ends up being the one to kill her, but it's like they made the choice. Like the group made the choice, and that in and of itself, they didn't kill her at all. They get into a fight with her and stuff, but it's the monsters that they've kept at bay are the ones that end up being their undoing. I think that's really cool.
It's kind of beautiful.
Mhm.
But yeah, they
poetic
sit
justice.
there. Absolutely, they sit there reminiscing. Everything comes crumbling down around them, and
Smoking a doobie.
yeah,
Yeah, I like that.
smoking a doobie to the end of the world, and this is awesome, dude. I love the outside shot of the cabin being absolutely engulfed, falls right through the cracks. Giant hand comes up, slams down, and we cut to black. Directed by Drew Goddard.
And it's such a, I don't want to say it's such a downer, but it kind of is. You know, it's not.
Yes.
It's not a funny.
It absolutely
ending.
is.
But I love the ending. I love the fact that they make the kind of moral choice to just end things. They're like, if this is what we have to do to keep the world going, is this really even worth it anymore? I think that's an interesting question. If we're having to do this, if we're having to sacrifice 5 people every year, why don't we let something else have a chance? It's like, that's kind of cool. I like that.
This is such a fun ending. I love this is the this is the end ending. The movie with Seth Rogen and Franco and stuff. I love this. This looks awesome. But yeah, that's it, man. That's the Cabin in the Woods. What a great romp. What a fun time.
This was great.
Fantastically written, fantastically acted. Hilarious movie that, is kind of like wish fulfillment for horror fans as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just like, if you're a fan of the genre, you should be able to criticize yourself, right? You should be able to be like, okay, like, yes, there's tropes in every genre. That's what makes them genres, right? Action movies have, the explosions, these big, like, heroic moments. Superhero movies have all of the cliches, right? Like, fucking throw a rock at one and you'll hit a cliche. Romance movies have the things that make them romance movies. Comedies have the things that make them comedies. So I love when like movies like this come along once in a blue moon, like Scream, like this, like Tucker and Dale versus Evil. That
Tail and Ducker
holes. Fucking idiot. But yeah, like that poke holes in like the genre, and it's fun, man. It's fun to watch. I think this might be on a rewatch one of my favorite movies of all time, man.
It's great.
So good.
It's really hard. I watch this and I'm like, what would I trim off of it? And it's like nothing. It's an hour and a half long. Mm-hmm. Everything in here is in here. It feels like by design. It feels like for purpose. It's very hard to nitpick on what I would do differently. But let's turn it over to the people. Let's turn it over to some listener comments.
Before we do, I was curious. Because this is a movie that subverts expectations of the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, people don't like their expectations subverted. They kind of want to be fed something really specific that they think they're going in for. So I was like, let me have a look at the IMDb reviews for this movie. Specifically the 1-star ones, because I was curious how people would take it.
Yeah.
I read quite a few. And, a lot of the complaints are these characters are cliche, the tropes are cliche.
All the complaints I had as a 21-year-old.
Yes, absolutely. But I feel like they just didn't look at it as what it was.
Right,
like, I don't know.
There's a reason why they are two-dimensional,
Yes, absolutely. So let me go ahead and read this comment. It's a little lengthy. I'll try and trim it. So the title of this review is called New Age Propaganda Movie.
All right, boys and girls, strap yourself in, because it's going to get weird.
Yeah, get ready to down that kraken. So this guy says, the film promised a lot and did not deliver. As many movies today, is full of shit from the New Age movement ideas. The stupidity is beyond limits, and all it does, it promotes pagan ideas. Basically... Listen. Basically, the whole idea is this. If pagan deities indeed are real, human sacrifice is logical, and we should not be judgmental on people who adhere to these religions. But I am getting ahead of myself. This is just a stupid, impossible to enjoy end. I downloaded this movie to see a horror movie full of cliches. For me, most of them are like comedy due to the stupidity of the actors. Again, just missing the forest for the trees here. And the movie has a promising start in this manner, but then the movie twists and turns, and there are all the people that have basically control everything in that giant movie set. And if this would have been all, it would have been okay. There are tons of movies that play around the idea that some rich people find entertainment in the mutilation and murder of the others. Hostel, for instance, specifically highlights Hostel. It was a bit of, that's the kind of movie he's looking for, right?
Right.
It was a bit of a disappointment because this was not what was promised, but it was livable. I don't know what the hell that means, but that's the kind of point that I'm interested in. Like, it was a bit of a disappointment because that's not what was promised.
Right.
So, like, that's really interesting because the trailers did not make it seem like, this is what they were getting.
Sure.
It might end up hurting the final product, whatever. So he goes on to say, towards the 2/3 of the movie, okay,
2/3 of the movie.
Appears. Yeah, we find out that the people they constructed. His English is terrible. We find out that people that constructed the facility did this because they believe that pagan deities will destroy the world if they did not. The movie value depreciated even more at this point, but it was still tolerable. But the end totally ruined it. The CGI hand that makes it look like the deities were real ruined it for me.
That's what ruined it? That's where you draw the line in the last 18 seconds of the movie? That's insane.
If they just left it at that, if there were some crazy dudes that worked for rich people with lots of money, even crazier than themselves, it would have been okay. But the movie maker wants to make a step more in twisting everything and makes the gods real. Also, the sentence, quote, humanity must leave place for something else, has been overused by advocates for new age movements that have in plan removing more than 90... I'm just reading this as it is. I know it makes no sense. Removing more than 90% of the Earth's population because, quote, we harm nature so much that some people have become so brainwashed they actually believe it. Of course, they do not want to be themselves that die, but everyone else. It is a very disturbing movie indeed. Some claim that the viewers are the gods. No, the pagan gods, i.e. demons are the gods. I am tired of this new age pagan propaganda. I am tired of people defending witches and paganism and presenting in a favorable light. They kidnapped and killed people, folks. All of them. And the witch hunt in Salem started because some of these pagans kidnapped and sacrificed kids. The horror of this made everyone suspect everyone. Witchcraft is never good, and pagans should be put in jail.
I like how he ends on, not they should be obliterated, not that they should be wiped from the earth, they should be put in jail. Like,
oh my God, man.
Oh, holy shit. Whew, that is somebody with a chip on their shoulder. Holy hell.
That was a journey.
Good Lord,
that was a
man.
Journey.
That is spectacularly delusional. Man,
that was it was like watching the Hindenburg.
Good Lord. Because you like to think maybe it's a really young person, maybe it's someone who's a little bit older that doesn't quite get it. But it's like, I don't know, man. Because if you would have asked me when I was 21, I wouldn't give something even close to that, but I would have a negative review. Let's just be honest. Like, I would have a negative opinion.
Absolutely. Because, again, this goes back to what was sold to us versus what we got.
And that's right? The gamble. Drew Goddard saying, I'm so happy people came in and thought they were seeing the wrong movie. It's like, yeah, but that's a live grenade, man. That's yes. A double-edged sword that you're having to live with. And personally, I love the way that works. I love the effect of that. But that might not be for everybody. And you are going to lose some people along the way.
That's super ballsy on the studio's part, too.
Yeah. And apparently thank God Lionsgate got this, because MGM was wanting to take a hack saw to this fucking movie. They were getting ready to they were going to cut the opening office scene. They were going to cut all of like a lot of shit that was supposed to be like for comedic effect. And they just apparently didn't understand the project as a whole, that I guess as Lionsgate did. Man, what a spectacularly delusional fucking comment. That's
I had to rate it, dude. I had to rate it.
You know, I sometimes, I see something in life. I see someone let somebody in front of them at the grocery store, or like they stop traffic and let this car get out that's going to get stuck. And I'm like, everything's going to be all right. And then you read a comment like that. And I go, I'm never having children. I'm never having children because I'm just not doing it.
You know what? It's kind of interesting because like it's commenters like these that led to the decision of Dana and Marty to let the world die.
Yeah, right. It's people like that were like, yeah, I looked at let me see here. What's his name? 420-6969 sick bro, and I decided that we should just let the earth burn.
Just let him die.
Also, I'll kick off some of these listener comments because I'm going to go with Jose Rivera.
Yes.
And by the way, if you guys ever want your comments read off on the air, you can go to the After Party. It's our Facebook group attached to that where we post kind of like all of our news and memes and dick pics and stuff like that. And you can come check it out and comment over there. But comment just like Jose Rivera did. And his comment starts with, I managed to avoid all spoilers for this movie until I saw it on Blu-ray. I ended up really enjoying despite having Joss Whedon on it. I am not a Whedon fan. I like to think of this as a Drew Goddard project, eliminating Whedon from my mind. And I gotta say, Goddard made not only an interesting horror movie with elements of comedy, but also a love letter to horror, which isn't easy. Perfect. I think that's pretty much very in line with what we've been saying. And as a Creature from the Black Lagoon fan, my biggest laugh was the Birdman scene. Bradley Whitford's, come on, gets me every time. Finally, I'm glad this movie stands on its own. There's no television spinoff, no prequels, or direct video sequels. The dark ending is just that, an ending. It's allowed to stand on its own, and I love it for that. I totally agree with that last part. I think it would, as much as I would love to see these two characters, mainly Richard Jenkins and Bradley Whitford come back. It's one of those things that maybe you think that you want, and then when you get it, it's like, man, it's been more than 10 years. If they had struck when the iron was hot, I think that would be really cool. But I think it's been too long. I think it's been too long now. But I also want to read the reply to his comment from Jessica Vazina. She says, yes, I love the lack of prequel and sequel. You never get a good movie that is just allowed to be. It would be so easy to create a terrible pre/sequel, but they chose not to, and I love it for that. So very interesting. Divided opinions either way.
Yeah, I wonder if Jose and Jessica shook their heads when I was like, I'd like to see a prequel. Look,
it's something you think you want, but the execution of it might not roll off that well.
Right. I think it's because I just like these actors so much. I really like Jenkins, and I really love Whitford. That I'd really love to see these two in something together. Like they're just their chemistry's so good. Their line delivery is amazing.
It's shocking they've never worked together. As far as I know, maybe they have in some. Okay, maybe in some capacity, like theater or something. But I was like, holy shit, that's fucking crazy.
I'm going to carry on the comments. By the way, thank you so much to everyone who commented. This was a really busy one, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for you guys for contributing. Jesse Privet says, one of my personal favorites, really spun everyone's expectations about a horror movie. I knew nothing about this movie when I first seen it, and it was awesome to experience it that way. The Ring was that way for me as well. That's interesting. Does he mean the 2003 Gore Verbinski The Ring? Is it that one?
I assume so, because I think that he and I are very similar ages. I think he might be a tad older than I. But yeah, I think that was right about the time. I think I was 11, 13 when that movie came out.
Yeah.
So knowing nothing about it will really kind of, ring that clock for you. Kind of knock the cobwebs off that shit for you. I'll take Jessica Vadina's comment, her actual comment, not the reply. She says, I fucking love this movie. It's like Scream for the new generation. It's making fun of horror genre, but it's terrifying at the same time. It's just brilliantly done. And I'm a Whedon fan, so the dialogue is spot on for me. Huge fan of this. Definitely a favorite of mine. Short, sweet, simple. I love it.
Perfect. She also adds that the posters for this are so freaking good.
They are good.
Dude, when I was putting together the post for this, I always type in the movie and then art, the word art.
Sure.
Because I like seeing the actual artwork, like fan-made stuff. There is so much out there for this movie. Like, it's crazy. I think it's safe to call this a cult favorite movie. Like, like it does have its following. Like, it's not out there as like a movie that people talk about every day. Like, like we don't see it on our Facebook feeds all the time, whatever. It's interesting. The following for this movie is huge, and they are vocal, so it's interesting. I'm going to go ahead and read Danielle Cutter. Thank you so much, Danielle, for commenting. I love you, as always. Thank you so much for giving us that great question that we answered in the middle of the episode. She says, praying to the horror gods and getting this comment in on time. Love is not a strong enough word when it comes to Cabin in the Woods. It's a top 10 horror movie and maybe a top 25 movie of all time.
Wow.
Great direction, great acting, fantastic script, and amazing death scenes. And we're talking all the death scenes. From the zombie redneck torture family to the guards to all the monsters running amok in the bunker. It's non-stop and it's glorious. And I absolutely love the nihilistic ending after the last few years. I'm even more in the, quote, fuck the rest of the world camp. My favorite thing about it, though, is that it's a love letter to horror. It takes all the tropes and all the silly things and the scary things and gory things and it mixes them together in the most satisfying way. The only thing I would change, and in parentheses she says, short of forgetting the whole thing so I can watch it again, is wish I'd never watched the preview for it. The part where the bird flies into the force field ruined the whole, quote, something else is going on vibe. That's interesting.
Yeah, we kind of touched on that.
Forgot about that. Yeah. She says, this movie is actually why I rarely, if ever, watch trailers for movies or shows where I'm worried about spoilers. I adore this movie and cannot wait to hear your coverage.
Aww.
You didn't cover it during the show, and then she asked the question, which other horror trope?
That's so sweet.
Which other horror trope from the board would you have liked to see other than the Buckners? Yeah, interesting.
What a great question, and then also adore this movie.
Yes.
Can't wait to hear your coverage. That always makes me very happy. Thank you.
Yeah, it reminds us why we do this. Thank you so much, Danny. I really appreciate it. Yeah, she says that about the trailer. Whedon also had another movie this year. The same year, 2012, was the Avengers. That trailer when the Hulk saves Iron Man from when he's falling through the through the thing. I remember that got quite a bit of backlash. Because like people like they were putting spoilers in the trailer and shit. But like but yeah, look, guys, thank you so much for commenting. Really appreciate it. Anytime you guys come out and talk about the movies that we're talking about, it's so awesome to see you guys' opinions, and it really makes us happy, especially I'm so flustered by Danielle's comment, dude, like that she can't wait to hear our coverage.
Yeah,
it's crazy that people listen to us. It's crazy that people listen to us.
It's been
so weird.
It's been 4 years. I'm still not used to that. I'm not used to the fact that there's about 10,000 hours of fucking audio of my opinions on movies, and I'm like, it makes me slightly uncomfortable. I just kind of, if I ever wanted to disappear, it'd be this would just make it that much more difficult.
You'll never go off the grid. There's never a Colin is off the grid kind of situation.
I love Marty. He's like, man, I just want to get away, or my ass is not fucking GPS coordinated. He has like a line in the movie, but as for final thoughts, I mean, I haven't really said anything. I haven't left anything off the table. Do I think this is perfect? I don't know. That's really hard for me to say because personally, I'm not a big fan of slashers. I'm more of like a creature feature, cosmic horror kind of guy, but that doesn't mean I can't appreciate them. And this movie, especially, I appreciate it for what it is. I think for what it's trying to do, it absolutely sticks that landing perfectly. I think that it is. As many people before me have said, and as many people in our comments have said, this is definitely a love letter, but at the same time, a critique as well of the slasher genre as a whole. But it's hard for me to really, if I had to really nail this down, I'd say it's probably a 9 out of 10, 9.5. Personally, I take off a little bit because I don't exactly love the genre. But that's not anything that the film did wrong. So I am hesitant to just
the subgenre, right? Because it's still a horror,
right? Comedy,
and everything. Slasher is what you're going for. Yeah.
But it is. I don't know. I would say it's closest to the 10. It's closest to a 10 that we've done of anything recently for me. You know, there's nothing I would cut. There's very little I would change, if anything. I think this movie is, once you realize that it's so meta and it's so satirical, that you kind of like, I don't know if it's something where just as a podcaster, as you watch movies now, I get very analytical about shit. I try to figure out the movie before the movie's even fucking over, which is just really toxic sometimes, honestly. But there's times where I watch stuff and I can't just relax and watch something. And this is a movie I was totally relaxed. I was just like, you know, this movie's going to take me for a ride. It knows that I'm smart enough as a viewer, and I think this movie is banking on me as a fan of the slasher genre, which I am. I just don't watch them a lot. So I really appreciate the fact that this is a smart movie. You know, this is a movie that plays with expectations. It plays with tropes and archetypes, and ultimately has a really, really fun time juxtapositioning all of those. And I think it really succeeds on basically every front. Yeah, fuck it. I would say this is pretty much a 10 out of 10, honestly. I think for what they plan to do, 90 minutes, you got a great cast, you got great editing, you've got the sound design when the unicorn stabs that guy. It's really hard to sit here and criticize anything about this movie, because if I can't think of it off the top of my head, or it doesn't come to it naturally, I feel like I'm having to stretch to find that critique, and that's not fair to the movie. So I honestly, I would say that this is pretty much a perfect film for what it's trying to do. It may not be perfect for everyone. I don't think it's perfect for me, but I think for what it is trying to do and what it is trying to say, it absolutely nails it.
You're saying perfectly. Like as objectively as you possibly can.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Right. 100%.
Yeah, look, well, I think I completely agree with you, man. Like, there's nothing in here that I would really change. I think it's pretty flawless from start to finish. It is a thrill ride from start to finish. It is absolutely hilarious. This is one of the only movies that throughout the years, it's changed genres for me. So, like, the first time I watched it, I approached it as a horror. Second time I watched it, I was like, this is a mystery movie for sure, because, like, there's quite a lot of elements that you really need to figure out, and you're given information where you're figuring out things, but you're not given all the information yet. But now, ultimately, I think where it sits is a comedy.
Yeah.
Me.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I would slap this movie on, and I would probably have a great fucking laugh. Which is exactly what I did last night when I watched it for the second time this week, man. Like, I think the duo that is Richard Jenkins and Bradley Whitford is so unrivaled, and might be the most underused duo in Hollywood history that I've seen. Is absolutely flawless, and I want to see more of them, but at the same time, I don't know how well that'll go. The bulletproof script of, like, you have these actors who haven't really acted in many things, and they might not be great, but don't worry, because our script, takes that into account, so it's fine. Like, that approach is also pretty fucking brilliant. Because, like, let's face it, I don't think Chris Hemsworth's the greatest actor of all time. I think he's definitely he's in some of the greatest movies of all time. I think his best performance was in Rush. But I wouldn't call him fucking, Marlon Brando or Robert De Niro or Leo, So, when he's doing these, like, heroic looks towards the door as Buckner's, like, about to break in, and he's like, we need to lock the place down. Like, that is built into the script that he is supposed to be this really cheesy action hero lead character. So I think this movie's kind of flawless in that way. And it's fully, it's fan servicey and it's wish fulfillment. When you see these cubes and you see these, like, elevators, and you zoom out and you're like, God damn it, I wish, I could see all of these things clearly. And then 10 minutes later, she hits the purge button and you're like, oh, shit. Like, for a movie to have its cake and eat it too, and, like, all in 90 minutes, pretty fucking brilliant, man. Pretty fucking brilliant. I would recommend this movie to pretty much everyone. The only thing I wouldn't say Sorry, the only thing I would say, I'd probably give them a word of caution and be like, this is not your standard horror movie. That's the only thing I would say. Don't approach this as your normal slasher / Cabin in the Woods type-esque movie that you think you're getting. Because, you kind of need to protect people from disappointment. Like, whenever I recommend movies, like we have this fucking newsletter that goes out every week at work, and people know I love my movies, so they always get a recommendation from me in the newsletter. I always try and add a little bit of a caveat, kind of be like, hey, this movie's about this, don't approach it with this. I don't know. I try and help out as much as I can without spoiling it, and try and maximize their enjoyment from it. But I also don't want to play God as well. I don't want them to go into a movie and with preconceived notions. So it's tough when you're trying to sell a movie like this, I think. Yeah, I think this movie's quite flawless. I'm glad that we covered it. Took us 3 hours to cover it. It's a 90-minute movie, and 90-minute movies traditionally that we've covered in about 2 hours, maybe an hour 45. This was probably the most fun I've had on this podcast in a very long time.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun, for sure.
Not that I'm losing my interest in the podcast that we've done, but this was a blast, and I'm so glad that we got to do this, man. This was awesome. Yeah,
same here. I always enjoy when movies like this come around, because how often do we cover? I don't think we've covered a horror comedy since we did fucking Shaun of the Dead. No, American Werewolf, but that's been a few months. But before that, it'd been years, since we ever cover. It's very hard to cover a comedy, but when you have a horror comedy, you can kind of stake that down a little bit easier. It's not just you telling jokes.
And this
the whole
has something
time.
To say. This has something to say as well, which you can grip onto as a podcaster and talk about.
Yes.
Whereas a comedy Scary Movie is just oh, they said that joke, that's funny. Know what I mean?
Right. It's the difference between Scary Movie 2 and Baby Driver. Baby Driver has jokes, but it's also a genre film. It's a heist film. It's got jokes kind of interlinked through it. But guys, I mean, that's pretty much it. I don't really know what else to say. I had a lot of fun covering this. I hope you had as much fun listening to it as much as we did recording it. If you guys ever want to check out any more of our stuff, you can head over to midnightdoublefeature.com and check out some of our written reviews. We have merch there. And you can check out patreon.com/midnightdoublefeature. It's $5 a month for the green room. We're up to about 50 something episodes, I think, in the bonus
nearly
so far.
50.
Yeah, nearly 50. So we're closing in on that. We're about to record First Blood Part 2 for the bonus feed. And you can come check out all the different stuff we have in there. We have commentaries. We have movie coverage just like the one you've heard. Or we have Shooting the Shit episodes where we kind of talk about what we've been watching. We have episodes, movies we walked out of. All types of stuff on there. Stuff that's a little bit more free range, I guess, is a good way to put it. But I really appreciate you guys staying to the end of this episode. Please stop by, rate and review us on iTunes. Even if you can't sign up for Patreon, it's free. It takes 5 minutes. It helps the show out immensely. We really hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we will catch you on the next one. Bye!
It premiered in December 2011 at Butt Numb-a-thon Film Festival.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
In Austin, Texas, of course.
Austin, Texas has a lot of cool shit, though. That's where they did the U.S. premiere of Hot Fuzz at the Alamo Draft House.
Oh,
yeah.
But Numb-a-thon was created by Harry Knowles, who was the guy. Ain't It Cool News? That big chubby guy.
Oh yeah, he's actually the one. He's in all the Hot Fuzz special. He's in a wheelchair, a ginger beard and glasses. Yeah, he's in a bunch of shit.
He's an asshole.
Really?
Apparently. I don't know. I need to do more research, but oh yeah, he's got a bunch of dude. When you've got a controversies heading on your Wikipedia page,
yeah, you've said some things
dude. 3.1 accusations of biased reviews. 3.2 fake Oscar nominee story. 3.3 feud with Yui Bowl. 3.4 Texas Chainsaw Massacre visit claims. 3.5 sexual assault allegations.
That's rough. That is fucking rough.
And I'm just like, apparently he's an asshole.
Yeah, apparently. I mean, eventually you have that many people saying something. It's like, come on, dude. Which sucks is I've seen him, like, he brought Hot Fuzz to, like, Austin, and he brought Peter Weller to, like, the Alamo Draft House to talk about RoboCop and shit. It's like, damn, that sucks. I'm gonna put a little bit more. I bought this bottle at 6:30.
Oh my god. Oh, that's
what I've chucked into it since like 6:30.
What?
Because I don't.
Wait, hold on.
I don't drink a lot because I have a high alcohol tolerance. You know, I'm just like, that's a slippery slope for French.
I was drinking last night, dude. I hadn't drunk in a very long time until I drank last night. I had a 6-pack of Canadian Clubs, and I was like, I was feeling a bit woozy.
Yeah.
To quote Stu from Scary Movie.
Beer, sorry. Where are you based?
Can I just read this for you? This is Harry Knowles still. This is the because I was curious about the subheading of controversies: Texas Chainsaw Massacre visit claims. Knowles claims that at his 3rd birthday party, he was treated to a visit from the entire cast of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Knowles retains extremely detailed, happy memories of the event, including being given a basket full of dismembered body part props from Gunnar Hansen, as well as cutting his birthday cake with the actual chainsaw used in the film.
Okay.
Hansen adamantly denied that any of this ever occurred.
I was gonna say, I mean, I could see showing up and doing like, hey, that's the guy that plays Gunnar Hansen. You know, it's Gunnar Hansen. Oh, cool. You take a picture and he's like, all right, I gotta go. But like hanging out and like in costume, bringing props and like cutting the cake. It's like, come on, dude.
Cutting
that's
the
ridiculous.
cake with an actual chainsaw, dude.
Yeah.
I just love fucking nerds on the internet who just make up shit and then just discredit it.
I do all my hedge work
Immediately
with fucking
discredited.
Robert Englund's glove, you know? That's,
Oh shit! All right.
Fucking stupid.
Well, you know what? I'm considering putting this at the end of the episode, so maybe.